Yo, what is going on, all you GBA type people out there? My name is Dan, and I am the host of your GBA Season 6 live draft stream, but I am joined by one of the best coaches of all time here in the GBA, and your Season 4 GBA champion. His name is Mega Mogwai.
What is up, GBA fans? Mega Mogwai here, the coach of the Real Morel, like Dan hits here, he said. Season 4 champions and Season 6 as well. Why not? How you guys doing?
Ooh,
You hyped?
I think we're going to have a little bit of competition for that one, man, as we are looking at the best GBA lineup you have probably ever
my
seen,
God.
my friend. This is absolutely
my
insane. The amazing coaches we have. Let me actually pull up the draft order here momentarily. As you guys can see here, we've got the Milwaukee Sawsbucks first pick here, but we haven't just started yet. We have a lot of things we want to cover before we jump into the draft. So, Miguel, do you want to talk a little bit about how the draft works?
Yes, the draft is a snake-like order, and we're going to be taking a pick simultaneously. We're going to be lined up, as you guys probably... Do they know the order, by the way?
Yeah, so the order is
Okay.
obviously displayed on the screen, guys. So we're going to be going based on last place to first place, the champion, which being me
Yeah.
as the 11th pick. And then the new franchise teams, our 5 new teams joining the league, are going to be pick 12 through 16. And then it's in reverse order going all the way back down to the Milwaukee Sawsbucks and Battler X.
This is so hyped, dude. Have you guys looked at how stacked it is? My God, the coaches.
The lineup is absolutely insane. A lot of people are already freaking out about this pick, Heatran, and I do just want to talk about the franchise picks right now, guys, before we get any further. So let's pull up that slide before the confusion sets in here. We've got our franchise picks right here, guys. You can see all teams. We have 10 teams decided to franchise a Pokemon. And so you guys understand how the franchising works. Each team had the opportunity to franchise one pick from their team last season. A tier 1 pick costs 40 points, a tier 2 pick costs 40 points, and anything below tier 2, whether it be tier 3 or below, would cost 20 picks from the free point total. Now, if you guys want to keep track of the draft in live fashion, you can type !draft in the chat to get access to our live draft document put together by yours truly, Dallas Staryu. Absolutely marvelous what he's done
Round
for
of
this.
applause for him.
Yeah,
by
he's
the
done a
way.
great
He's
job, guys. Please
phenomenal job.
check out the draft documents. Let's talk a little bit about some of these franchise picks here. We see that the Milwaukee Sawsbucks and Battler X, after a rough season last season with Steve coaching the team, pick up Heatran. Miguel, what do you think about Heatran for the Milwaukee Sawsbucks?
Well, see, I don't know why this Pokemon gets picked so early on every single time. Like, I think, don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal Pokemon, but that quad weakness is a little bit, it can be exploited, definitely. That's something that I've learned throughout, multiple seasons, is that, quad weaknesses, you gotta be careful with them. But having that said, Heatran is actually very, very versatile. It can be excellent defensively and offensively. It has a lot of really cool sets with Power Orb, Solar Beam. It can set up Stealth Rocks. It can taunt. It can be a Stall Breaker. It can be a Scarfer. Very strong mon, very versatile. But that quad weakness is something you gotta watch out for. But if you draft, according to that, you can make up for it for sure.
Yeah, we see Old Man Tough here had a kind of a... He was aiming to go from worst to first last season. Didn't quite do what he wanted to do, but he actually performed incredibly well comparative to his GBA Season 4 standing. You see he's actually going to pick up Excadrill as his franchise for this season. So basically what this means, guys, is all these teams listed here that had chosen to franchise a Pokemon will automatically have that Pokemon on their team at a cost of their point total. That Pokemon will count as their 11th round draft pick, so they will be exempt from the final round of the draft, and you'll see that Pokemon listed on every one of their picks because it's already part of their team. So we see Old Man Tough pick up Excadrill. Phenomenal Pokemon, especially if he's able to pair it with some sand. We saw him try to pair it last season with Mega Tyranitar. It's going to be interesting to see whether he goes Hippowdon, whether he goes Tyranitar, or whether he just runs Excadrill without the sand this season. Miguel, what do you think about Gym Leader Geo and the San Francisco Giants picking up their mascot pick, Entei, again?
Well, I, for one, am always quite terrified of this mod. It's so scary because Sacred Fire is a move that not even water types enjoy switching into, honestly. And it's a Pokemon that can really put pressure. It can really do well as a very powerful wall breaker. And if you can really draft a very threatening team behind, because Entei punches holes through teams. and makes it very easy for other fast mons to clean up. And it's just very good bulk, very good power, very strong speed stat, and I think it's a phenomenal franchise pick. And hey, he got his mascot as well, so
yeah, I agree. That 50% burn, I mean, it's a little predictable in many cases, but we've seen Gio run things like weakness policy, solar, beaming, Entei, so who knows what's going to happen this season. Definitely the right hands for it to be in with that creative mind behind Gym Leader Gio. We see the playoff, one of the playoff runner-ups here, the Borussia Donphan and Coach El Scissor picking up Landorus Incarnate again. Again, guys, we do not follow the exact format of Smogon. We customize our tiers to fit the counter team format. Landorus I was on the block to potentially be banned in the offseason. However, the coaches decided that it should stay for one more season, maybe more to come. And we, obviously Lars took that opportunity to franchise Landorus. I played it 3 times last season, guys. It's a very difficult Pokemon to prepare for. Having the ability to be offensive from both sides, has a great speed stat at 101, and its sheer force power just rips through opponents' teams. So definitely a great franchise pick. And we saw the first 4 franchise picks all costing 40 points, but George, the semifinalist, losing to me in the championship there, decided to grab Nidoqueen as his franchise pick for only 20 points. Miguel, what do you think about that strategy, and what do you think about building a team with Nidoqueen to start?
I think this is a clear testament to how smart George is. I think the Nido brothers, the male and the female, are exceptional in this format. They are incredible. They have access to rocks, toxic spikes, priority, and the most beautiful coverage you're ever gonna witness for a Pokemon. Like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Focus Blast, Slush Wave, Earth Power, and they probably got more going on for them. All of them sheer force boosted. This Pokemon is very bulky on top of that as a phenomenal and unique defensive typing. I'm a big fan of Nidoqueen. I'm a big advocate of the Nidos in the League format.
I am too, from my GBA Season 4 match against you, Miguel. You know all about Nidoqueen.
I hate this thing. This thing destroyed me. My God.
I do want to touch on another point that I failed to mention earlier, guys. Any of the teams that left the league, there was a number of teams that are no longer in the GBA. Those Pokemon that were on their teams were allowed to be franchised by the expansion teams. So you're going to see as we discuss, as we kind of move on here, that might make sense for some of the other things. But my franchise pick was Victini this season. I did toss up quite a bit of whether I was going to go Sylveon or Victini for my franchise, but at the end of the day, and Miguel, you use Victini yourself, Victini does one thing incredibly well and better than any other Pokemon in the game, and that's click one move every single time and absolutely decimate a team. It's called a nuke for a reason, and I'm really excited to be bringing Victini to the New York Metapods this season in our first season of this franchise, trying to defend our title.
Fun fact, Victini's Paco's favorite Pokemon as well, so he's a big fan of you picking this as your franchise.
Well, Paco, thank you for supporting.
I can definitely agree. Like 180 base power on a stab, that's pretty ridiculous. Good speed, exceptional coverage. It can be defensive, especially defensive, Assault Vest, Scarfed, Banded, whatever you want it to be, really. Victini's fantastic, and it's always going to be great. And it is
very good. We have a returning coach, actually, Cooper, and the Utah Jasmine returning and actually picking up a Pokemon that wasn't even drafted last season. Going to franchise a regular Sableye. Miguel, what do you think about Cooper starting off his draft with franchising Mega Sableye at the cost of 20 points?
I mean, I could go ahead and act like I know what's going on here. And be like, try to come off like smart and say, no, it's because, but I have no idea. I don't know why he drafted not drafted, he franchise tagged Sableye. I'm not entirely sure what his thought process is, but that's very fascinating for me. I want to know. Cooper always has a plan. He always has an idea, something to work with. So I'm very excited to see why he did this.
This is true. Cooper has been known to be very, very creative. That is regular Sableye, but it does benefit from that Prankster ability. Has that Prankster Will-O-Wisp, and it does not lose it. Remember, Mega Sableye loses its Prankster after the first turn because it's forced to Mega Evolve, whereas Sableye is able to contain that or maintain that the entire game. But we have a very, very interesting pick here. Perhaps one of the better Pokemon, top 5, maybe top 10 Pokemon in the format. The Philadelphia Scissors and new coach, expansion coach Chimpak, is going to grab Tornadus T. Miguel, tell me about Tornadus T.
Tornadus Fairing is one of the best mons, period. 121 base speed, very good bulk, a pure flying typing, which is unique to him and his incarnate counterpart. Tornadus has exceptional coverage, tremendous potential, and is one of the best pivots out there, really. Like, I'm not surprised this happened. And knowing Chimpak, who, by the way, I thought, the teams were before this. I thought the teams were the other way around. So he's the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, not the Chim Chargers. Just so people know that this is a Chimpacks team, and I'm not surprised at all. Like I saw this coming. This is a very strong Mon. Very good.
It is a phenomenal Mon. The next coach, another expansion coach, Sam Fufu, and the Newcastle United choose to pick up Tier 3 Mon at 20-point cost. Crocodile. Crocodile's phenomenal in the fact that it can be a rock setter. It's got Intimidate, multiple abilities, including Moxie. Can be run Scarf, can be run defensive. It has great coverage with Knockoff and Earthquake and Stone Edge, and it can be a Pursuit Trapper. Crocodile's a very, very good Pokemon. Very interesting to see it franchise. What do you think about Sam grabbing Crocodile as his franchise pick here?
I'm glad I got to talk about this because this is the most fascinating franchise pick for me personally, because it's not the most obvious, but it's super effective. And pun intended. Let's go with that. Crocodile has a very unique set of dual typings with Earth, Ground, and Dark. And it has a lot of utility as a Mon. It has a lot of versatility. And the thing about this Pokemon, I think something that really is also a very important factor when you franchise a Mon, is that Sam has a lot of experience with this Pokemon. He feels comfortable with Crocodile. He has used him numerous times before, and he knows how to be efficient with him. And I think having a Pursuit Trapper in the format, the League format, is actually really important. So he's got his Rocker, he's got his Pursuit Trapper, the Electric Immunity. He's already got a lot of very important components for a League team, and all in one Mon. So I think it was a very clever pickup, actually.
I agree 100%. And our final franchise pick, anyone not listed on this slide, guys, decided and opted not to franchise a Pokemon. But our final pick here is another expansion coach, Lord Envy, and the San Diego Chim Chargers, deciding to grab the Flinch Hacks God himself, that is Jirachi. Very, very interesting pick. Jirachi adds an incredible steel typing, a very versatile Pokemon that I actually am very familiar with after getting swept by a Calm Mind variant a couple weeks ago. This thing is an absolute monster in the fact that it just has so much versatility, from being a Scarf variant to being a Stealth Rock setter to being a special attacker or a physical attacker. Miguel, what do you think about Jirachi? This was a first or a second round pick, and he just got to grab it as a franchise.
You talking about Flinch, Haxie? No. This thing is a freezer. Like, this thing just it touches you. I faced Shady.
You know that.
Last season, okay? And the first two attacks this thing sent at me, both of them froze me. My Zapdos and my Ferrothorn. So, screw you, Jirachi. I hate you. You're good. I'll admit that. But I don't want to know nothing about you. Just, no. Yeah.
All right, guys, so I think it's just about time that we jump into the live draft. If you guys are watching this right now on twitch.tv, I want to see you guys get incredibly hyped here in the chat room. If you guys are watching this after the fact on YouTube, definitely show your love on that like button down below, and I hope you guys are incredibly excited for GBA Season 6, which is kicking off right now. Get excited. The first pick is going to be coming through. Before we jump into that, Miguel, what are your predictions for the first round?
Well, my predictions? You didn't tell me this. I'm not ready.
I just kind of threw him under the bus. We're improvising.
I don't know. So you're telling me like what I'm expecting to for the coaches to
give me two Pokemon that you think are gonna go first round that are super high priority here.
Okay.
Without giving up your own secrets,
of course,
right?
It is tricky, but I'm personally honestly expecting the likes of so. I'm gonna say too that I guess I'm expecting Latios to go by, definitely, and I'm also expecting. Not sure. I'm honestly just gonna go with Latios for now. I'm really not sure. Like I've predicted in the past, but GBA coaches are very unpredictable with their drafting, and I'm very curious.
That is true. I actually expect Pokemon like Mew. I can see the Latios definitely going early. I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those top tier threats like your Manaphy's and your Landorus Therians and so on and so forth going.
I don't want to talk too much.
I know, I don't either. All right, so you guys ready to rock and roll? Are you ready, Miguel?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, guys. Throughout
Let's
this
go.
draft, we are going to have various coaches hop on with us and explain their picks as we go. So get excited for the coaches. You can always type in exclamation point coach name. So exclamation point Sawsbucks, exclamation point Hawluchas, exclamation point Metapods in the chat to go straight to the YouTube channel of any of the coaches. Be sure to tweet out the stream if you guys are excited to let people know about the GBA Season 6 live draft stream right here, right now. And I think it's time. The first pick of your GBA Season 6 draft is from Battler X, and it is going to be Mega Pinsir.
Oh, wow.
There it is, Mega Pinsir, one of the biggest offensive threats in the GBA over the last couple seasons. I believe it actually has the most kills in the GBA all time. And after Battler X franchise Heatran, he is going to pick up Mega Pinsir. Miguel, what do you think about this pick to go with Heatran?
I think this may have to do with, Steve. He's experienced some quite the beaties with this thing. Like, I remember Season 4, I believe, the Winnipeg Aqua Jets swept him with a Pinsir who set up a sub and a Source Dance. That was pretty nasty. And I think Steve really just wants straight up power this time around. And Mega Pinsir has always performed. He's always at the top of the MVP race, and he's just always sweeping everybody and destroying everything. What switches into an aerially boosted return? That doesn't want to take an
and the
earthquake
priority
or a close
that it
combat.
has is phenomenal. We actually have our second pick rolling through. Old man top of the Pittsburgh Piratas are indeed going to go with the sand strategy after franchising Excadrill. They're going to grab Moto, of course, Hippowdon, which works incredibly well with Excadrill, giving him that automatic sand so he doesn't have to set it up himself. Now Excadrill has the ability to not only take advantage of Mold Breaker, one of its phenomenal abilities, but also Sand Rush, and Old Man Top grabbing Hippowdon in the first round as the second pick overall. So now we know he's not going Mega T-Tar again. Hippowdon and Excadrill, that is scary, Miguel.
I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I really was expecting Tyranitar though, because he seemed very comfortable with it last time around. But Hippowdon, like that's great. It's a phenomenal mon, and I can attest to it. Like it's just phenomenal.
I think the big difference here is you're removing that fighting weakness that Excadrill and T-Tar share.
Yeah,
you remove that by giving yourself Hippowdon. Wow,
Oh my God.
Gobstacular and the Arizona
the power is
Deoxys.
still going.
I know. We are seeing some very interesting picks here. The array of ground types are already starting to go really quickly. Garchomp, one of the top dragons, moved from tier 2 to tier 1 after its performance on the Atlanta Hawluchas. Miguel, tell me about Garchomp real quick.
Garchomp is very versatile. It can be defensive, it can be offensive, it can set up rocks, it can be a sweeper. It's very scary as a Pokemon, very complete. And I know Gubs wants to draft a little bit more bulky this time around, so I'm not surprised about this pick at all.
Phenomenal pick. Just incredibly versatile. It does have that 4 times ice weakness, but I think Garchomp has proven itself time and time again. At one point, I believe being even banned to Ubers in Smogon format. This thing is a monster, and it just has so many options. Being able to be offensive from both sides. 102 base speed tier makes it impressive. And Gym Leader Geo is going to come through with a groundbreaking pick here. Manaphy, the workings of a Fire Water Grass core, we can clearly see right here with Entei and Manaphy on Gym Leader Geo's team. Manaphy is insane, Miguel.
This is already incredibly disgusting. This is just, oh my god. Like Manaphy and God, that's horrible. That's so scary.
That is very scary. Not only do you have the wall breaker that is Entei, which can just destroy things with Sacred Fire with that 50% burn chance. Now Manaphy can come in, set up a tail blow, and absolutely destroy. That is a very, very good starting core for Gym Leader Geo, who just narrowly missed the playoffs last season. I fully expect him to be putting in the work this season and potentially making a playoff run. He has improved so much, and he is a phenomenal battler, and he's just so creative with his set, so I'm really interested to see how he works with Manaphy. And Super Blood, Nick, coach of the Boston Red Sox, grabbing the beast that is Kyurem Black. Now, I've yet to see Kyurem Black do a ton of work in the league format, Miguel, but we all know this thing is an absolute monster.
It's got tremendous power. It can go both ways with its offenses, and its ability really shuts down a lot of cores that think they can wall more than they can, really, because of, Terravolt and such. Very powerful mon, and a lot of different utilities. The Stealth Rock weakness really hurts, but I feel like it's definitely going to be one of a very big threat. It's always been a threat, but let's see how well, Nick executes it this season.
Yeah, that is true. That Stealth Rock weakness does hold it down a little bit, and the fact that it lacks a very good physical ice type really hinders it a bit. You do have to typically run special or mix if you want to get that ice beam on there to hit from that. Wow. So this Pokemon, Miguel, tell me about Mega Lopunny, because you know all about it.
Oh, I mean, of course. She led my team to victory in Season 4, of course. I'm fond of her. She's
one of the
phenomenal.
few Pokemon to make it to back-to-back championships.
Yes,
Victini is
yes,
another one.
yes,
Mega
yes.
Lopunny and Victini, I think, are the only
Yes.
two. So.
Yes, George actually used her exceptionally well last season too. She's just so fast and hits so hard, and the fact that her neutrally, like, nothing resists her dual stab, nothing in the game. So that's a very huge, like, testament for a Pokemon. That's very impressive.
It's insane. It really
And
is
she's always
insane.
good shot.
And having high base power moves like Return, like
Yeah.
High Jump Kick, Drain Punch, and coverage through Ice Punch and things like that. Not even to mention you can Baton Pass if you wanted to with this thing. Fake Out gives it the priority, but Miguel,
I
why?
got it!
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Why?
I knew she was not gonna be sniped. I knew she was not gonna be sniped. I have to go back to my D-League days, and I have to take. I saw how George abused this thing last season, and I honestly believe, in my opinion, I believe this is the strongest Pokemon in League format right now. Bay is back. I'm gonna trap them mods, and I'm gonna kill him. That's
man.
pretty legit.
Gothitelle, just to clarify, guys.
I can clarify here. One thing, you will not see me use the Calm Mind Rest set.
Oh, he says it now. He says he's not going to do Calm Mind Rest. Just to clarify, guys, while Shadow Tag is banned in other formats, Shadow Tag Gothitelle is allowed in the GBA. So look out for Mr. Miguel over here to be
You can
using
expect
Gothitelle.
Specs, Scarf, all that goodness. I use Gothitelle like a man.
All right, so our next pick here after franchising Landorus Eye is Coach L Scissor and the Borussia Don fan picking up regular Scissor. Lars, tell us a little bit about Scissor. Lars, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're here, bud. All right, so Lars was supposed to talk to us about Scissor, so unless he can get the technical issues worked out, we'll just kind of roll with it. Scissor's a great Pokemon, only sporting that weakness to fire types, having a 4x weakness, but it serves as a great pivot, giving Lars 2 U-turners now if that's what he decides, but its biggest asset is in the fact that it can set up with Swords Dance and use priority through Bullet Punch with Technician Boost, and he's not forced to Mega Evolve because it's just regular Scissor, so he has a lot of options with different berries and different items and different things like that. He can run an Oka Berry if he's worried about fire types. He can run the Natural Gift, or I think it was Natural Gift last season. We saw Scissor on Scissor, but Fizzy Stardust is going to break the GBA right here with Volcanion Fizz.
Oh, baby. Tell me about Volcanion, baby. The hype
You tell
is
me,
peak in the
Fizz. You tell me.
Oh my god. See, someone had to franchise my favorite fire type, and I knew I wanted a bulky water, so I decided, why not both?
My god, the Sea of Eruption.
Volcanion,
man,
guys,
I
is
love-
of course... Oh, go ahead. Volcanion is, of course, allowed in the GBA for the first time ever, and Fizz is going to pick it up for his team here.
The hype is real.
It is.
Dude, I'm Dougieing. I'm so excited.
He's whipping and naying, and he's doing all sorts of things. He's... What is it? Dabbing? He's dabbing, I guess. So he's got Volcanion here. Phenomenal Pokemon. Insane special attack stat. Does get let back a little bit by its speed, but we've seen it destroy in the OU ladder so far. But our next pick here is Sceptile MC, the reigning semifinalist of the San Francisco Arcaniners, pairing his Nidoqueen up with Latias, just as Miguel and I predicted Latias would go early in this draft because it serves as one of the best, if not the best, defogger in the game. Now we see Latias and Nidoqueen. What do you think about George's team so far?
Well, I think it's already looking very solid. We already have hazards and hazards removal with his first 2 picks. They do share a nice weakness, but they pretty much resist everything else, like fighting, ground. If you look at, the 2 abilities, Levitate, and the fantastic typing of Nidoqueen, I'm already liking his team a lot. I'm already really liking it. Really solid. Really solid.
It's so early in the draft to really worry about like double weaknesses and stuff because all it takes is one thing to patch up that.
Yeah,
ice
but they already
fine,
synergize well. Without ice in consideration, everything else they synergize really well. I like it a lot.
All right.
Fluffy!
I had to, man. My first overall pick for the New York Metapods, your reigning champions as the St. Louis Rampardos. Mr. Metapod is hype, and we are going to pick our mega pick, Mega Altaria. The offensive synergy between Victini and Mega Altaria is absolutely
insane.
insane.
You take my Victini, and now you take... Oh, man.
I had to. The offensive
betrayed.
synergy is absolutely insane, and I really love Altaria and the fact that it is just one of the most versatile Pokemon in the format. Being able to be defensive with things like Cotton Guard, being able to be specially offensive because of its Pixelate Hyper Voice, or physically offensive with things like Earthquake and Return, or Mixed, or anything you want. It has so many different options, and I really love Mega Altaria. I'm very excited to announce it to be part of the New York Metapods for our hopeful championship season here.
It's phenomenal. Its typing is incredible, and it's super versatile. It's fantastic. Oh, Cooper, you did it.
So
Oh,
Cooper is going to dip
Oh,
into
Cooper,
tier
you did it.
3. After franchising Sableye picks up another tier 3 pick here. This is Torrent Greninja, guys, to clarify. It is not Protein Greninja. It is Torrent Greninja in tier 3. So he's going to snag that thing really early here. I'm kind of surprised to see this.
I mean, in part I am, but this Pokemon was very successful for me last season. Like with the Toxic Spikes, with the, like it's so versatile, it's so unpredictable. It can be physically offensive, especially offensive, and the speed is so good. That 122 is money.
That does
I'm
separate
a
it,
huge
and
fan of Torrent Greninja.
it has insane coverage. Even without their protein ability, it does have really, really good coverage.
Yes,
And you can run it
yes.
with a Life Orb, you can run it with a Scarf and outpace everything.
Yes.
I mean, you have a lot
Yes.
of options with that thing. Wow, this is a surprising pick here. One of the
Oh.
new coaches here, as now we're in the expansion teams, Chimpact to the Philadelphia Scissors after franchising Tornadus T is going to pick up Scolipede. I'm going to talk a little bit about Scolipede really quickly because I'm using it in another league right now, and it is an absolute monster. The Life Orb set with 3 attacks just happens to destroy. It seems like it destroys every team every week. Be able to run Mega Horn and Poison Jab and Earthquake and Rock Slide. Those 4 coverage moves pretty much cover almost anything, and you also have the ability to hazard stack. So this thing is a monster.
I'm a big advocate. I'm a huge fan of Scolipede. I think it's been overlooked for the longest of times, and I think a lot of people focused a lot too much on the hazard stacking lead. When in reality, this Pokemon is a true offensive threat with the coverage it has, and the fact that I consider Baton Pass like an overpowered U-turn. You know what I mean? Like, that's one way to look at it. So.
And just to clarify really quickly, we actually, this is crazy. We actually don't have the Baton Pass clause in the GBA, so you are able to Baton Pass speed plus Swords Dance boost with that Scolipede. Fufu and the Mew Castle United here picking up his mascot.
Everybody's
of the
taking
best,
up my mods. Goddamn.
one of the best Pokemon in the format. Mew. Obviously, this thing is the most versatile Pokemon. There's no way to dispute that. It has Defog, it has Will-O-Wisp, it has coverage off the wazoo, Psychic coverage, Ice Beam, Volt Switch, U-Turn. I mean, you name it, this thing learns it. It learns every TM in the game. Mew is insane. How do you like Sam's team so far?
Well, I like that he drafted his mascot. Hopefully that'll jinx him a little bit. GBA history has shown, and what can I say about Mew? I did a top 5 Pokemon in draft format, and Mew.
Yeah, we both had Mew, right?
Yeah. So there's not much I can say about it. Oh, there's a lot I can say
Oh
about
my!
it.
Are you kidding me, Envy?
Oh.
Is Envy just trying to
My God.
flinch everyone to victory over here?
Disgusting. Oh my God. Are you kidding me, MV?
I think he's trying to
kidding me?
flinch the entire GBA into
Yes.
submission here,
This
picking up
is-
a fairy type and the workings of a fairy dragon steel core here for Lord Envy.
He's gonna dual scarf for these two every week. Oh my God.
Air Slash and Iron Head the entire game, and you just sit there. 60%
Why
turns
you
into
doing
like 100%, and you're just sitting there with your head down and...
What's poppin' though? Why you do this?
I don't know,
Oh,
MV.
God.
I don't know. I might have lost a little bit of respect for you, my friend, because this is I don't even know what to say to this. This is ridiculous. This man just picked Jirachi and Togekiss. Are you kidding me? What?
Yeah. Disgust
right.
this video.
Well, we're about to
Oh,
close
my
out round 1 here. Tom, a returning coach and your beloved Power Rankings host here, coming back to the GBA, picking up Sylveon as his first round pick. Miguel, talk about one of the best fairy types of the game, Sylveon.
I like this pick. I don't know if it was considering Tom has a wheel pick. We'll see what his next pick is soon. But I don't know if this was like a first pick worthy slot or whatever you want to say. But I do like the fact that this Pokemon is very like it can do 2 things really well. It could be a cleric, or it could just be a specs wall breaking monster. Like people really overlook how hard this thing can hit with a Choice Specs Hyper Voice with Pixelate Boost. I think you know that pretty well, Dan. You have experience
Yes.
with this mod.
Yes, I
And
do,
you
and
can-
it's
you
a
can
great
attest to
wall
that.
breaker. It is a very good wall breaker. I think we here we
And
have
the
our
top pass.
Yes, here we have our summary for round 1 as we did get through the first round of the GBA draft, guys. Are you guys hyped? I want to see this chat go crazy right now. I think it's time for us to bring on coach of the San Jose Sharpedos, Tom, who actually has the wheel pick. So he just picked Sylveon, but he's got the next pick coming up. So Tom, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Tom, tell us about Sylveon and tell us what your plan is going forward here for your round 2 pick as we're approaching that very closely.
So with Sylveon, I figured get a top tier fairy. I saw you used it. Might as well show my hand about that. And then next up, I wanted Kieran Black. Unfortunately, Nick did snipe me on that one. So I figured, all right, let me go with something a little reliable, a little fun to use. I like fast. Let's go with a little bit of fast. We'll see in a minute. But I'm definitely excited for Sylveon. I like how versatile it is. I have so many options. Gonna look forward to using it.
It is very
It's,
good. Just the fact
it's
that
really
you get to rock it physically defensive. It's just got such great bulk from the special side. And I could tell you, and my opponents could tell you from last season, something about Choice Specs Pixelate Hyper Voice. It just destroys teams. People aren't, if you expect it's going to be that Heal Bell Wish passing set and you get bobbed by a Choice Specs Hyper Voice, your whole game plan gets messed up, and it's very effective. So Tom, we'll bring you back here in a second for your next pick as we enter round 2. But Miguel, any big standouts here in round 1? I think a lot of it was pretty obvious, but I think we did see some surprising picks. I'm surprised to see Greninja. I'm surprised to see Kieran Black go first round. I'm a little bit surprised, to maybe see Scolipede first round, but I think it deserves it. Who do you think ended up getting the best pick this round, and any surprises you think?
Well, I'm gonna give 2 prizes here. Number 1 is going to be the best overall, like what I feel like the strongest pick competitive wise. Like I think it was a very strong draft, and I'm gonna have there's some excellent choices here, but I'm gonna have to go with Mew for Sam. I think Sam is really gonna know how to use that. I'm very afraid. I'm very terrified about him having Mew. And the second award that I'm gonna give out is to the most swag pick, the most hype pick, and that is going to be Volcanion for the Atlanta Haluchas. I think we can't deny that. I think everybody's very excited to see Volcanion debut in League format.
That is going to be very exciting. Guys, just a reminder, !draft in the chat if you want to view the live draft document provided by Dallas Staryu, who's going to be running our fan document for the GBA this entire season. So big thank yous to Dallas Staryu for running this document for us, and he's going to be updating it as we go through the picks, so you guys can watch that as you watch the stream. But after calling out that Kieran Black pick, I think Super Blonde Nick is here to defend himself. So Nick, if you're available, talk to us about Kieran Black.
Dude, it's got a base 170 attack. That's ridiculous. You can't teach that. That's absurd.
You can't, but are you worried about its stealth rock weakness and its 95, I think, base speed?
I went through a Season 2 season where I won the championship, and I had 4 psychic types, and they all had, Ghost Dark weaknesses. And
that was before the knockoff, though, was it? Wasn't it?
That was not before knockoff. That was the season of the knockoff.
Oh, boy.
And, I've gone through some other things. We've had teams with quad rock weaknesses. We have Mega Pinsir up there in the top round. The rock weaknesses is part of the game. So what you do is you follow it up with good team synergy. And if you get a team that can support Kieran Black well, maybe play with some speed in some way, I think it could be an amazing threat. And I didn't really have instant offense on my team last year, and I think I can get that with Kieran Black.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So it's gonna be exciting to see how the Boston Red Sox team with their new logo this season turns out here. Also,
I like that logo, by the way.
I do too, man.
Yeah.
Another thing to shout out, guys, our partner here, Onash, actually has the GBA, the first ever official GBA store for GBA Season 6. You can type !GBA shirt in the chat, or of course on YouTube. Check out the description below for all your stuff. But you can pick up merchandise from your favorite GBA team. But you might want to wait until you see the full draft, because maybe some things will change if you get your favorite Pokemon picked by someone else. But Tom, I think it's time we jump into round 2. Are you ready, Tom?
Yes, I am.
All right, Tom, tell us, who is your first pick of round 2 of the GBA Season 6 draft?
The Sharpedos will be selecting Starmie as the first pick of round 2.
Wow. So there it is.
Man.
Starmie and Sylveon to start off the San Jose Sharpedos. Starmie's obviously a phenomenal rapid spinner, probably one of the best in the game, maybe next to Excadrill. What was your plan here, Tom, going with these 2 Pokemon?
Well, again, like I said, reliability is certainly key for me. I would say that Excadrill is a little bit better in terms of spinning, but I can't not look at the water typing, fantastic typing, rapid spinning with, I'd put, Blastoise, Mega Blastoise, or Tentacruel up there with the, top tier spinners, but you can't not have Starmie up there and be like, yeah, it's good, it's fast, great stabs, so many options, and I can use it however I choose to with the speed. I just love this pick.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's really
I
great.
love it too.
It crosses off so many things off your GBA checklist. You get that fast Pokemon, you get that water type with great coverage. Wow, very surprising pick coming in here from Envy and the San Diego Gym Chargers, grabbing his tier 2 mega pick right off. It's either tier 2 or T3. Tier 3, I think, mega pick, Mega Ampharos, which is of course going to give him extra points to his free total here, which will kind of make up for picking Jirachi earlier. He's got that Fairy Dragon Steel Core. What do you think about Mega Ampharos here?
Wow, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So obviously, Envy's draft is, while it's very disgusting for a wide range of reasons, it's actually looking very strong. Jirachi's phenomenal. Togekiss is exceptional. He's already got a Defogger. And now, as you very well pointed out, which is, this is not the most obvious, Fairy Steel Dragon core out there, but it is. And it's very good. It's very good. I'm thinking about the typing synergy right now, and it is top notch.
It is phenomenal. Here we are with Sam Fufu coming through with his next pick. He already grabbed Mew last round, franchise Crocodile, and you're going to see him grab Crobat in Tier 3. So now we're starting to see people jump right into the middle of the drafting. A little bit of a surprise here seeing Crobat go in Tier 2. But it is a phenomenal Pokemon rocking a base 130 speed stat. Pretty good attack stat, especially rocking Brave Bird. It hits incredibly hard with those two. Roost, reliable Defogger, which takes some of the pressure off of Mew to be his hazard removal. I personally love Crobat. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. And I'm excited to see how Sam uses it this season, Miguel.
I have a theory, and that theory says that Crobat is actually one of the best Pokemon in League format.
Fair enough.
Period.
It's so good. I mean, it is
There's
very
no more
versatile.
comments. I think this Pokemon is just so exceptional.
good.
So exceptional.
And I think what makes it so exceptional is that speed stat. But Chimpac's going to come through here. Very surprising to see it go. This Pokemon went undrafted last season. I actually picked it up as a free agent, and it made it all the way to the championship on the Rampardos. Chimpact here grabbing Blastoise. Again, an undrafted Pokemon last season.
Wow.
Coming out of the draft. Blastoise going
Did
in
not
round
see this
2.
coming at all.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I can speak for Blastoise being a phenomenal Pokemon, having the ability to Rapid Spin and reliably Rapid Spin. It can run Toxic, Scald. It does lack a little bit from an offensive perspective. This is regular Blastoise, not Mega Blastoise, just to clarify here. But it does have some good options. It does have the potential to run Mirror Code and Counter and things like that, and it does give you a reliable Rapid Spinner in a pool where Rapid Spinners are very, very, very important.
Yes.
So I'm a little surprised to see it go to round 2 here, but I think you're going to see Chimpact make it work. As we all know, he's a phenomenal battler and he knows what he's talking about. So, oh man, here we go. Big fluff, big pink fluff coming through. Clefable is going to be the second-round pick for Cooper Kushiro and the Utah Jasmine.
I'm surprised it made it so far.
Oh,
Like,
Cooper's here. Cooper, tell us about your couple picks here. Clefable, Sableye, and Greninja.
All right, so
Took my pride!
folks, so that's why I franchised that. Greninja, I wanted Infernape first round in season 4, but Hank sniped it, so I figured, well, Infernape is tier 1 now. Greninja's tier 3. That's pretty cheap. Yeah, still got the speed and the hazard set up and the late game cleanup potential after I wear stuff down with bulk, so that's what I wanted there. And then after I picked Greninja, I was like, oh no, Clefable! I never thought I would ever get Clefable because it's always gone before it's my pick. So I just completely wrote it off, and then after I picked Greninja, I realized Clefable is there. I want my Wallet's immune to Toxic and all that passive damage, and unbelievably, it's made it back to me in round 2, so cool.
Fair enough. So my pick coming through here is going to be Rotom Wash, my tier 2 pick to go with Victini, my franchise, and my Mega Altaria. I really wanted to focus on getting a nice Fire, Water, Grass core, and really, I said at the beginning of the season, prior to the season starting, my focus here is to pair Victini up with the best possible team to make Victini shine better than it's ever shined before. I brought this Pokemon to the Season 4 championship in the GBA, and I personally love Rotom Wash, Miguel.
I think Rotom Wash is phenomenal. It's always going to perform well. It's always going to be very versatile, and it's always just going to be a fantastic pivot. And its typing combined with its ability, is just ridiculous. And I think you can make up for that grass weakness quite easily.
Yeah,
right
having both Mega Altaria and Victini, I also have 2 Pokemon that are resisting grass already, so I'm really feeling that. We're going to see another bulky water go, as perhaps I just started the trend. Milotic going for Sceptile MC and the San Francisco Arcaniners. This team is starting to look very, very scary, man.
Milotic is absolutely phenomenal. Milotic is always performed really well in the League format. It's always been categorized as one of the best defensive Pokemon. I'm not entirely sure what makes it shine so much in this format, as opposed to standard play, but it's a fact that it's always done really well, and George is very comfortable with this Pokemon as well. That's very important when drafting. You have to select mons that you're comfortable with too.
That is true.
I'm not surprised by this pick. I saw it coming, honestly.
One of the nice things about Milotic, just to throw it in there really quickly, is the fact that it does have 2 very good abilities, competitive and Marvel Scale, so it could serve as a very good bulky Pokemon, but you can really surprise your opponent by bringing that competitive, switching it down and Intimidate, and making it work there. Fizzy Stardust, after picking Volcanion and breaking the GBA, he is going to grab Mega Scissor as his Mega pick, going here in the second round.
That's some sweet synergy right there. Oh my god, that is hot.
Yeah, as you know, Volcanion does 4 times resist fire-type moves, which is Mega Scissor's only
and
weakness.
And it's immune to water, too.
Fizz, get in here, Fizz. Talk to us.
All right, so hey guys, I knew that I need a way to get Volcanion in. This thing's U-turns. It takes care of that rock weakness. It can defog. It's defensive. The synergy and typing is just there. Oh, baby. Swag is picks.
Thank you, Fizz. Thank you, Fizz. We got Mega Scissor here. I love
Someone
this, man.
called me
I
a
really
god
do.
in the chat, and I like that. Keep calling me gods.
Guys, show your love for the Atlanta Hawluchas in the chat. Exclamation point Hawlucha, of course.
My pick
I think
is
we're
coming
trying to
up.
grab. I think we're trying to grab Lars here for Borussia Donphan, El Scissor, picking Vaporeon as his third pick, perhaps trying to mitigate that fire weakness that regular Scissor has. Lars, tell us about Vaporeon.
Yeah, okay, I hope you can hear me now.
Yep, you're good.
Last time it did not quite work, but yeah, I had Landorus Ike 4 times Ice Weakness. I grabbed Scissor 4 times Fire Weakness. I had needed a Mon which can switch into both, which is none other than Vaporeon. Last season I didn't have a great Scald Switch, and this thing is immune to water attacks. Last season I didn't have a good Cleric. This thing is a great Cleric. It has, after Chansey Blissey, it passes the biggest wishes in the game. And yeah, fantastic one overall. The return of Vaporeon for anyone which follows me a bit longer.
By the way, guys, I encourage you to swing over to Lars's channel, exclamation point Donphan in the chat. He made a very, very awesome GBA video to announce the GBA Season 6, so please check that out. Oh my god, my co-host here, Miguel.
Power is mine now.
This was the MVP for Season 4. Miguel, talk to us about Weavile.
Well, okay, so I guess now my Gothitelle first pick is kind of making a bit more sense. I think these two combined lead to very good offensive synergies, and I think it's really going to lead to, you know, I want to be able to basically trap the bulky stuff and potentially, you know, outspeed everything with Weavile. Weavile has 125 base speed, 125, yes, 120 attack, yes. I got
It's
that
insane.
mixed.
It's got priority on Ice
And I
Shard.
can Pursuit Trap, I can Knock Off, I can Ice Shard, I can Icicle Crash, I can Low Kick, I can Poison Jab if I
There's
feel
no.
like it, you know?
Just a reminder, guys. This Pokemon won I said MVP, but it won the Offensive Pokemon of the Year 2 years ago, or 2 seasons ago. Absolutely phenomenal. John and the New Orleans Pelipers, after picking one of the best Pokemon, Mega Lopunny, is going to grab Reuniclus, which moved from Tier 3 up to Tier 2 for the start of Season 6. Reuniclus is a phenomenal Pokemon that can dodge those hazards just like Clefable did, like Cooper said. Miguel, what do you think about Reuniclus going in the second round, though?
I know John really likes this Pokemon. I know it was very successful. It was actually one of the best Pokemon for him last season, and he's really grown fond of it. I wasn't expecting this to go so early, but I can completely see the reasoning behind it. Like, Reuniclus is a very highly contested Pokemon. It's also becoming quite popular too, and it's got all the bulk, it's got the setup opportunities, and I think it actually synergizes really well with Mega Lopunny. So I think this is a very strong pick, personally.
And actually a Pokemon that I considered to draft myself, but I went with Mega Altaria. We're going to see Mega Venusaur coming through here for Super Blah and the Boston Red Sox. I don't know if Nick's available to talk about Mega Venusaur.
I'm right here.
He's here.
Right here. Mega Venusaur is actually my 4th choice for the second round pick. I got sniped 3 picks in a row on Melodic, Mega Scizor, and Vaporeon. So Mega Venusaur was actually a kind of a, what am I going to do? And then I realized, wait a minute, Mega Venusaur is actually really freaking good and pairs really well with Kyurem. So I'm really happy with it. It may actually end up being better for me in the long run, but it wasn't necessarily my first choice. But it's something that's very reliable. It can switch into a lot of things. It has recovery. It can go offensive on either side and go defensive on either side. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. I love the Mega Venusaur pick. Gym Leader Geo is starting to put together a championship caliber team here, in my opinion. Grabbing Manaphy as a franchise, or Entei as a franchise, Manaphy in the first round, and now grabbing the Moon Duck itself, Cresselia, which probably should be banned. Miguel, tell us about Cresselia.
Why? Gio just loves the bulk, man. He just loves it. My lord. I hate this man. I despise it so much. He's already got like a lot of like very offensive threats. But on top of that, every single one of his Pokemon has a lot of defense, special defense, and HP to back that up. Like, he can take hits, and that, you know, I don't like that. I'm not the biggest fan. Like, no, just draft weaker stuff. Please, Gio.
We're not going to talk weak stuff here because this Pokemon gets huge power, equivalent to 150 base attack. Azumarill is going to be the next pick for the Arizona Deoxys. Pairing up with Garchomp here, we see a Fairy type to go with the Dragon type. I think we're going to see a lot of Fairy types start to go here as the pool of Fairies starts to dwindle. But Azumarill is a phenomenal Fairy, having a quite versatile move pool and just a lot of options with Aqua Jet, Knockoff, Play Rough, of course. It could be a Belly Drum set. It could be an Assault Vest set. Heck, you could even run Defensive Thick Fat with Whirlpool. I don't know. Well, we got the Azumarill pick coming in here in the second round.
Yeah, Azumarill is a top tier pick for a top tier Pokemon for a reason. You know, you get the water typing, you get the fairy typing, you get priority, you get tremendous attack, you get very good bulk. Like, what more do you want from a Pokemon? Like, what more?
I don't know, but we got, after picking a lot of sand pressure here with Hippowdon and Excadrill, Old Man Tub is going to join us and tell us a little bit about his next pick, Tentacruel. All right, well, we can't hear Old Man Tub, so we might be having some.
Wait, he's got 2 spinners.
I know, Tup, are you there? All right, it's not working. So
Tup is taking the bread from others. Like,
yeah, he's trying to grab all the spinners right now, but
he's just taking the food for himself. My God, he's got 2 very top-notch spinners on his
roster. This is important because it takes the spinning pressure off of Excadrill.
A lot of people.
Yeah, you take a lot of pressure off of Excadrill right now by giving Tentacruel those duties to remove the hazards. Excadrill now has the opportunity to be that sweeper in the sand, which I think Tup kind of struggled with last season, not having the greatest entry hazard removal. Great pick there. Unfortunately, we'll try to grab Tup on the next pick on the wheel here. But we've got the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, and the last pick of round 2, pairing up with Heatran, he is going to grab Slowbro.
Very solid, very solid. Not the most fancy Pokemon, but definitely very good at what it does, and actually very versatile. Surprisingly versatile, really. Like, 'cause it can actually sweep you, it can actually set up, it can actually be Assault Vest. Like, the Regenerator ability is really good, and obviously it synergizes pretty much perfectly with Heatran. You know, the resist fighting and is resist water, so
yeah, it's very good. I mean, that synergy that you just talked about, Slowbro and Heatran forms a phenomenal defensive core by itself. You don't even need a third Pokemon. And then you throw Mega Pinsir in the mix. It's going to be really interesting to see how Battler X and the Milwaukee Sawsbucks kind of take those 2 Pokemon and see if they can bounce back after kind of a rough season last season, run by Magnitude, of course. So here's our round 2 summary. I think a lot of great picks, a little bit more standard comparative to round 1. I was a little bit surprised about some of those round 1 picks, but who was your standout in round 2, Miguel?
This is a difficult one because there's a lot of very strong picks. I'm gonna have to give it to Tom, though, because I believe Starmie may be one of the best Pokemon in this format because the speed is ridiculous, 115. It's got decent bulk. Its typing is very good too, and its coverage is very scary. Like, it learns Thunderbolt, it learns Ice Beam, like dual stabs, hidden powers. Like, it's got a very respectable special attack stat, and it rapid spins. Like, few Pokemon give you so many things at the same time, you know? The few Pokemon provide so much as Starmie does. So I feel like Starmie should have gone in the first round, actually. But since it went in the wheel pick, I'll kind of count it like a first round pick because I just think it's one of the best.
I agree in that regard. And as we're jumping into round 3 here, guys, there's been a lot of surprising picks of Pokemon that just haven't been drafted in general. We still see Latios on the board. Landorus, Therian, both Pokemon often regarded as being top tier in the format. Those Pokemon are still available. Hydreigon often looked at as being a very good wall breaker. Dragonite and Gengar and Keldeo. Lots of Pokemon. Guys, if you want to follow the draft live, not only on the stream, but you could watch the document being updated live by Dallas Star You by typing !draft in the chat here on Twitch. You could watch it being updated, so you can actually see every team as we go, so you can kind of compare and decide who your favorite team is going to be. So otherwise, kind of looking at this, I was a little surprised to see Blastoise go second round, but again, we saw kind of a trend of bulky water types go with Starmie, Blastoise, Rotom, Milotic, Vaporeon, you know, Azumarill and Slowbro and Tentacruel. I mean, I'm
gonna ask you, Dan, though, what do you think was the most underwhelming pick this round?
The most underwhelming pick, I think it actually is probably, kind of looking at things quickly, I'm going to say it was going to be that Blastoise. You know, I'm not doubting Chimpact by any means.
No,
he's a phenomenal battler, but I personally don't think Blastoise is a round 2 pick. I think it's around, if he wanted to grab it, if he prioritized it maybe round 3 or round 4, I think I could see it going. But who knows? I mean, we saw a lot of bulky waters go. That set the trend, and a lot of times in these drafts, all it takes is for one person to grab a Pokemon, and then all the other teams go, wait, that was on my list, and then people start to scramble for substitutes. Next thing you know, all those substitutes are gone, and then you're left not being able to draft the Pokemon you want. So in this case, perhaps Chimpact just really wanted to jump on that Rapid Spinner.
One thing I really like that you point out is that before, you know, when this pick was made, and I think it's very important for people to know, is that in this format, it's not like standard play. Here, Rapid Spinners just fly by super fast. It's very dangerous because, and especially when unexpected stuff like Tup picking up 2 Rapid Spinners happens. Because I don't know about you, but I'm feeling the pressure a little bit, you know? Like
oh yeah,
the
most certainly
are slimming. You know
That's
what I mean?
exactly true. Hazard removal is so incredibly important in this
But
format
maybe I have a plan.
because there's only so many hazard removers, and you don't necessarily want to end up in round 8 saying, okay, well, my options are limited, let me grab Avalugg, because that's what ends up happening, and then you end up having a little bit of a weakness on your team that you might otherwise try to patch early here. So Battler X actually has the wheel pick after picking Franchising Heatran, grabbing Mega Pinsir in the first round, and now picking Slowbar. Are you ready to kick off round 3? I believe we're ready to go. I think everything's all set here. All right, let's do it. The first pick of the GBA Season 6 Round 3 draft is going to be Florges, the Fairy-type Pokemon in Tier 2, which is going to drop down to his free point total. Obviously, just to clarify here, he did franchise Heatran, which means he only had 360 points for free Pokemon. Grabbing Florges brings him down to just 240 free points for his last 3 Pokemon. So very interesting to see this Fairy-type go early. I think this might start another trend.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... We see the core being built here. I like the Steel, Fire, and Heatran, and I like Florges too. I think he's going to be able to really handle Dragon types well with the combination of those two. And I think Florges is one of the best Fairy types available right now, really. It's just very...
Yeah, with the
it's not the most versatile
both
mon.
going.
Yeah, it's not the most versatile mon, but what it does it well. So I like
It's going to be interesting to see whether Battler X is able to pick up a hazard removal, as he does have that Mega Pinsir that he's trying to work with.
He's a Pinsir.
All right, Old Man Tup, we'll see if we can get you on the call this time to talk us about a Tangrowth here, a bulky grass type in Tier 3.
Check 1, 2. Is this on?
You're
Yes.
on, Tup.
Okay, so after picking up Tentacruel last time, it really wasn't what I wanted. I was looking for Crobat and or Vaporeon, and they both went. So I was like, well, what can do pretty much what both of them do? And I got the typing and the hazard stacking and removal options while taking a spinner off the board with Tentacruel. And now I needed something I could switch in, take hits, lay hits down on either side, and switch back out freely and get that regen back up, and that was Tangrowth. It's one of the best mons, in my opinion, that fits that role. It can knock off, it can hit on the special side if I need it to, I can Assault Vest, I can Stun Sport. It has so many options, I think it's really undervalued.
It's really good.
It's one of the best defensive pivots in the game, in my opinion. That Regenerator makes it really stand out. Coming in with the next pick here is actually going to be Gubs after grabbing Azumarill and Garchomp. Going to pick up Mega Manectric. Miguel, tell us about Mega Manectric.
Mega Manectric is phenomenal. Mega Manectric is just so exceptional because it's not the most complex Pokemon out there, but what it does, it just does it better than anybody. We all know electric types are just on demand here and are so good in the league format, and Mega Manectric can be attributed to be the best basically. Like, it's just super fast, it's really hard, it has the Intimidate, which is just really good, and I'm already liking Gub's core a lot. He has the bulk and now he has the speed, so
yeah, it's gonna be interesting
like
to see. Yeah, he's got some bulk. It's gonna be interesting to see whether he's able to make Mega Manectric really stand out here. It has that insane speed stat, which really kind of puts it above the competition. Geo seeming to draft a phenomenal team here, grabbing Entei franchise Manaphy in first round, Cresselia in the second round, now jumping into Zapdos, but I believe this is actually forcing him now to grab, if I'm not mistaken, based on his point total, I believe he has to grab a lower tier Mega now, but Zapdos stands out as being one of the...
Tier 1.
Yeah, Zapdos is Tier 1, Cresselia is Tier 2, so I apologize there, but either way, Zapdos is absolutely phenomenal, being a great defogger, and also just picking up the static ability. What do you think is more viable in this case, pressure or static, Miguel?
Oh, I didn't even think about that actually. Well, I think it depends on what role Zapdos is gonna take, and also what Pokemon you're gonna be walling in a certain matchup. Like, if it's like a very speedy Mon and you want to slow down, then static. But I also like pressure a lot because Zapdos really uses that ability really well.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out is to run defog on Zapdos, you do have to have pressure, so that is something that gives it away.
True. Oh, true, very true.
Super Blow on the Boston Red Sox coming through here, picking up Skarmory, a very, very bulky Pokemon that he had on his team last season. Nick, tell us about Skarmory and why he decided to draft it again.
Well, once again, Skarmory wasn't my first choice. Zapdos was. And it went one pick before. And looking back in retrospect, I think Skarmory, Mega Venusaur, Kyurem Black is viably or competitively more viable than, maybe Mega Scizor and Zapdos with my team. So I think I have the better team for it, even though it's not necessarily something I wanted. I wanted Zapdos' Volt Switch for initiative. But Skarmory resists both of Mega Venusaur's weaknesses. It's a defogger, it spikes, it rocks, it can Whirlwind, and it can Tailwind too for Kyurem Black, so watch out on that one.
Yeah, Skarmory's a phenomenal Pokemon here. I'm going to cut you off, though, because we got Pokemon's pick here. New Orleans Pelipper's grabbing Latios, going here in the 3rd round. Very surprising to see that. To pair up with his Mega Lopunny, Latios is a phenomenal defogger with a crazy special attack stat at 130. Drops one of the biggest Life Orb Dracos. This thing is absolutely insane. I'm really excited to see how John uses Latios this season. I'm just very surprised. I'm very surprised to see it go in the third round overall.
All right, guys, prepare to see me
Oh,
draft
you were getting ready for your pick. That's what you were doing.
Yeah.
You were like, I didn't get sniped. Let me talk about my pick. All right, tell us about Mega Blastoise here, Miguel.
I was waiting for this. Oh, man, good. Mega Blastoise is actually, I've said it for a long time. I think this Mega has been underlooked for a bit. I'm actually a big fan of how Fufu personally showcased it off in his own league before joining the GBA. And I've always, theory-moned about this for, the longest of times. I think it's one of the best rapid spinners in the entire game. It has very good coverage, and it just provides so much for me. I can use it as a defensive mon with Rest Sleep Talk. I feel like I can do a lot of things with Blastoise, and I feel like its coverage is so strong that I just couldn't go wrong with this pick. And I'm also going to be gaining some extra points because of the lower tier of the Mega,
correct.
so I'm very happy with it.
That does make it very, very useful in getting those extra points so you can kind of play with your draft later here. The Borussia Dawn fan, Coach L. Scissor, grabbing a very, very good Grass-type Pokemon with base 100 stats across the board. We've got Shaman here. I have a habit of missing every Seed Flare I seem to click, but Shaman otherwise is a great Pokemon, having Natural Cure, allowing it to pretty much switch on in any status. You can even use Rest, switch out, get that Rest taken off, get that Sleep status taken off, and it has great coverage too. Let's not forget about the opportunities with Tailwind, but Air Slash and Earth Power and Seed Flare, Leech Seed, Substitute. This thing can do a lot of different things, and it's very versatile. I'm curious to see how it pairs up with Vaporeon this season.
Well, is Lars here?
I don't think so. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I really like this Pokemon. It's fast. It does a lot of different things well, and I think it fits its core really well, honestly. Ooh!
All right, yeah, there you go. Fizzy Stardust, very excited about his 2 first picks, Volcanion and Mega Scissor with their great synergy. Now going to pick up Salamence, a huge, huge key component to my Season 5 championship team. I'm a big fan of Salamence. Fizz, tell us why you went Salamence here in round 3.
Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man. See, it fits, again, within, my weakness chart here with these. This is a great core. I'm patting myself on the back.
I hate you for this. You know that.
Oh
right?
man! And you know what's great about Mence is it fills some other holes. It can alleviate Scissor from defogging. It can defog. It can wish. It can be bulky. It can hit specially so hard. It can hit physically so hard. I can Dragon Dance. So many different things. I love this guy.
It's a very good Pokemon. I could definitely testify to that. George Sceptile MC and the San Francisco Arcaniners going to be picking up Infernape here in the 3rd round to pair with his other Pokemon. Infernape stands to be a great lead Pokemon, but it does a lot more than that, Miguel. What do you think George is going to do this season with Infernape in his hands?
I'm actually quite afraid because the only thing that makes me not be completely terrified is that this is not the fastest Pokemon out there. There are things that outspeed it, thankfully, because this thing can do so many different stuff. Like, it can set up hazards, it can be banded, it can be scarfed, I've seen defensive variants in OU.
We've seen many a
with
time.
Flak Off and Rocky Helmet.
That's
this
ridiculous.
Thing is so good.
We've seen many times mixed wall breakers are just so effective in this format because they just, if you plan it properly, there's no switch-ins. I'm going to take a page out of your book, Miguel, and I'm going to grab Ferrothorn here for my 3rd round pick.
You're stealing everything from me.
I'm taking it, man. We don't have to discuss, right? But we know Mega Altaria, Ferrothorn have just phenomenal synergy, and knowing that Ferrothorn's prime weaknesses are fighting and fire. Yeah, with Victini, I felt that with those weaknesses, fire and
Jesus,
fighting.
Dan, how many grass resistances do you have?
I have a
God.
lot, and that was my plan. I
Rotom
have
is-
plenty of
Rotom's
resistances.
gonna be so annoying. Oh my lord.
There you go. I really wanted to draft for typing synergy here. Rotom's one weakness is grass. Ferrothorn covers that. Ferrothorn's weakness to fire and fighting. Mega Altaria and Victini really, and Rotom work in on that. I really, really like this pick, and I felt that it gives me a
what a
reliable
core.
hazard setter with Stealth Rocks and Spikes. And it's just such a great defensive Pokemon. Not to mention it does have opportunities to be offensive as well, and I just really, really like the type synergy here. Cooper's going to tell us about his next pick. Kind of a surprise coming into round 3. Mega
Wow.
Gallade, an undrafted Mega from last season.
Alright, so kind of like Nick, I wanted Zapdos. I've always had Zapdos. I don't know what I'm going to do without Zapdos. There's not a lot of Megas left that I really want to use. I think if I got sniped on this, I was going to go down to like Garchomp or Glalie or something dumb. So the repercussions of having Mega Gallade get sniped were just too big to not go ahead and pick it now. And I had to correct my mistake from Season 4 and blow in my whistle.
All right.
What?
I don't actually know what just happened.
Coming to town.
All right, well, it's going to be very interesting to see Mega Gallade this season. I'm actually really excited to see how this thing performs in the format, as it's not a Pokemon we haven't really seen too often in
Has not been
GBA.
drafted since Season 3.
It's been
I love you,
undrafted
Google.
since Season 3. Well, there you go. Chimpact coming through here as we saw a bunch of bulky grass types going. Shaman and Tangrowth. Maybe that put the pressure on Chimpact here to grab Celebi to pair with his Blastoise, Scolipede, and Tornadus T. Miguel, what do you think about Celebi? It's got a huge weakness to Bug type and a couple other core weaknesses, but it's a pretty good utility Pokemon.
The thing about Celebi, and what really throws me off every single time I face it or use it, is that it doesn't die to U-turn. Like, it takes those quad super effective hits and it lives them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be invested. And that's because of its just naturally tremendously high bulk. Like, 100 stats all over the board is really impressive. And you got a Pokemon here that can set up rocks, Baton Pass, set up a Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, has exceptional coverage, good speed. And I feel like it fits his team really well. I think it's gonna, enjoy the company of Blastoise right there. So I think it's a good pick.
Very interesting. Fufu, Sam coming through with the Newcastle United, picking up regular
Oh.
Kirim, another tier 3 pick. So Sam is
Ooh, I
really
did not
diving into tier
expect
3.
this.
I was a little bit surprised too. Kirim actually put in quite a bit of work on Old Man Tough's team and the Piratas last season. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how Kirim works out this season. Obviously, 2 reliable defoggers does kind of help it with that rot weakness. But I'm a little surprised to see Kirim go this early, as I feel like it tends to be a little bit unreliable.
Well, the thing about Kirim is that it has tremendous offensive stats, and in a format like this in which you can really, model it to be efficient against your opponent, it can be actually quite scary, and also like a very cheap, powerful mon to draft. You know what I mean? Because what tier was Kirim?
I think it was
3,
tier
too?
3. Yeah, it was tier 3. So
Man,
that's a great
that's-
point. You're
that's
grabbing
crazy.
an incredible
Oh!
wall breaker at a tier 3. So Envy and the Chim Chargers here, after grabbing that Fairy Dragon Steel Core, are going to grab one
So
of the
strong!
one of the tier 1 top OU threats, Keldeo. I actually had Keldeo last season. I dropped it after week 1 because I didn't like how it fit my team. It does tend to be a little bit predictable. How do you think Envy is going to use it this season to kind of keep it from being predictable and keep it to be, the offensive threat that Keldeo is known to be?
The thing about Keldeo is that it's one of those mons that I truly believe that it can afford to be predictable because it's so good at what it does. It hits so hard.
Yeah,
it's
one would
so
call it a
fast.
one-trick pony, right? A one-trick pony.
Better, never better. Said. Like it's nuts. Keldeo, I'm looking at his core. I'm seeing how he can use. Like, it provides him with speed. It's really good, honestly. And we already got the next pick, though. We got the brother.
We're sitting here at the wheel pick now. Tom and the San Jose Sharpedos has back-to-back picks. He's going to grab Cobalion out of tier 3. Very, very good Pokemon. Tom, tell us about your pick for Cobalion here.
A wise man once said, your third round pick usually ties up your entire draft very early on. I firmly believe that. I think that if you take Cobalion, you mix that with both Sylveon and Starmie, very early on, I have a solid core to work with, and they have so many options in Cobalion. It could be defensive, it could be a pivot, Volt Switch, rocks, everything. I love this pick. I think it wraps up my first 2 picks very nicely.
Yeah,
I love Cobalion. I'm a huge fan of Cobalion. I think Cobalion can be it's one of the best pivots out there, in my opinion. I think it's very underrated by a lot of people, but I think it's not underrated at the same time because it's a very appreciated mod. But I really like the Volt Switch with the Stealth Box, with that high defensive stat, with that phenomenal typing, which is the reason why Lucario, for example, doesn't die to everything. because of that exceptional typing. So
Yeah,
I really
it's very
like
good, and having the ability to Magnet Rise too. Let's not forget that removes one of its
Yeah.
weaknesses in Earthquake. So it's very interesting to see Cobalion paired with those other two Pokemon. Just such a great Pokemon, as we said. Miguel, looking at round 3 here in a summary, who do you think ended up getting? What were the most standout picks to you? Whether give me your top pick overall, and then give me your what you think was the kind of the worst pick overall for round 3.
Well, I gave him the title for swag pick last time around, but this time I'm gonna have to go with best pick for Fizz because he actually sniped me with that Salamence. I think Salamence is exceptional. I think it shines even better in this format. I love the Intimidate Moxie combination. You have to fear both, and I love the ability for it to be a mixed wall breaker, for it to be defensive with the fog. I think Salamence is just such a strong dragon, and it's at the top of the viability rankings in the underused tier for a reason. So I think that's, for me, all these picks seem very strong, to be honest. Though, like, you got Latios, which I just don't understand how it lasted this long.
Yeah, I
And
kind of agree.
Zapdos,
I think Latios coming in
Ferrothorn.
round 3 is just mind-blowing to me. One of the picks that I really like, though, is Old Man Tup's pick of Tangrowth. I think seeing it go round 3 really speaks to how good Tangrowth really is. It's a phenomenal pick, and I think Tup was nailed it right in the head with the synergy perspective. It's just such a great pivot, allowing it to switch into most offensive threats, and then you can switch it out, and you just gain that health back with its Regenerator, having the ability to run Sleep Powder and just be so physically bulky and kind of fix its weak special defense stat. With an Assault Vest, Tangrowth is just such a great Pokemon, so it's going to be very interesting to see how we kind of come back down the draft order here with San Jose Sharpedos and Coach Tom kicking things off. So Tom, if you want to get us kind of primed here for round 4 as we're about to jump into that, guys, just a reminder, if you want to follow the GBA draft live right now, !draft in the chat. Dallas Star U is updating the document as we go, as the picks are coming in here. And if you want to pick up your GBA shirts for any of the coaches, !GBA shirt in the chat, or of course in the YouTube video after the fact, check the description below and support your GBA and your favorite coach. So Tom, what are you thinking, man? Round 4 is about to kick things off here. You just made some work picking up Cobalion. What are your plans moving forward here?
So Miguel just said, he said that he was surprised that Latios had fallen so far. I can't help but agree with him. But another mon that I think has fallen much farther than I expected it to do so was, in fact, my next pick, Mamoswine.
Wow.
Such a mon that, like, people... It's not often the top threat of the season, but it's never something to sleep on. Like, it's always something that a coach is going to go, oh crap, he has a Mamoswine, or oh, I have to prep for it a certain way, or it's so powerful.
It is very good. Being able to set hazards, that thick fat can be oblivious to taunt with its ability, priority with Ice Shard, and this is one of those Pokemon that its offensive coverage from its dual stab being Ice and Ground just is so difficult for teams to switch in on. Ice and Ground just happens to pair amazingly together, and it's similar to how we discussed Mega Lopunny earlier, having very few switch-ins. Mamoswine is one of those Pokemon, and I value it as being one of the top tier 2 threats, and I agree with you, Tom. I think it's a great pickup, and
Freeze-Dry.
Yeah, a Pokemon that's exactly it. So one of the only things that can kind of handle it are bulky waters, and then freeze dry, and then So anyway, our next pick here, I just got sniped. So Envy is gonna grab Donphan, of course, the Rapid Spinner, and we're gonna see a lot of the Rapid Spinners, I think, starting to go really quickly. Miguel, tell me about Donphan for Lord Envy here in the Chim Chargers.
I think Donphan fits his team really well. It gives him a ground type. I think a ground type is vital for any sort of draft, personally. That's my opinion, though. And I do like that he has a spinner and a rocker that leaves that takes a little bit of pressure off Jirachi for rocking, and that also at the same time takes pressure off Togekiss from the fog, which I really like.
Correct. This is a
Now
great
he goes
team.
Scarf Kiss. So
This is a
I like
great
this.
team.
I think this is an exceptional pick, actually.
Yeah, I really like it, and just to kind of, I don't think we touched on it earlier, but that Mega Ampharos obviously gave him the points back from Franchise and Jirachi. Very, very good synergy there in terms of typing. The Mewcastle United, Sam Fufu gonna grab a very good bulky water, which somehow missed that big bulky water hype in round 2. Suicune, a Pokemon I know very well after crit outraging it against my man Crimson Seabat and Detroit Steel Wings. Rest in peace, Crimson. But Miguel, tell me about Suicune, or Crokune, as everyone likes to call it with that Calm Mind Rest Talk set.
I mean, the king of bulky waters, right? Suicune is a threat. He's pretty predictable, but knowing Sam, I think we can safely assume that we're gonna see a Tailwind Suicune.
Exactly,
nowadays.
Tailwind.
Like, yeah, we're gonna see a lot of funky stuff with this thing coming from Sam. So I'm very excited to see Suicune in his hands, and yeah, I like it a lot. It fits his team perfectly.
Yeah, Suicune's phenomenal. It it's one of those Pokemon that does something, one thing incredibly well, and in the Draft League format, you can predict whether your opponent's going to have a Scald Switch in, so you can really work with that. But Chimpact, one of our expansion coaches here, grabbing Mega Diancie, a previously undrafted Pokemon, rocking that Magic Bounce ability similar to Mega Sableye, but it does have 110 base speed and incredible offensive stats and great dual stab with Diamond Storm and Moonblast. How well do you think Mega Diancie is going to do this season? I know you haven't seen its whole team, but what are your kill predictions for Chimpact's Mega Diancie?
Well, I want to point out before that this, in case anybody is not aware, this Pokemon is actually lower tiered in our tier system. This
Correct.
Mega. It's actually tier 2. So this means that Chimpact actually gains some extra points, which is a very, it's like what I did with Mega Blastoise. So I'm very, very surprised by this. It's actually a little bit scary because this Pokemon is very fast and it's very threatening. It hits incredibly hard, and I feel like his team is shaping up to be very offensive and very, very spooky.
Yeah,
to be honest.
that'll help him keep rocks off the field. It's just such a
Yeah.
good Pokemon. Cooper and the Utah Jasmine picking up one of my personal favorite Pokemon. I was actually hoping to try this out this season, but it looks like I just have to watch it from the other side of the field. Cooper, tell us about Staraptor, incredibly hard-hitting Brave Birder, as we know.
He's got a
Brave
wall
Birders-
breaker now. He's got a wall
Brave
breaker.
Birders are
Yeah,
good.
so I was thinking I wanted to get a spinner this round, but I think it'll make it back to me. So let me just grab something that I've always been afraid of. Like, it can kill Zapdos, but somehow I've always had Zapdos and it hasn't killed me. So let's just grab this and just nuke everything. It's not quite PvP create, but it's up there. And I
Yeah,
have just put a
Reckless
Starly in the
Brave Bird.
daycare on Pokemon Next to start breeding this right now. So good stuff.
Cooper, of
Cooper
course, is
does
going to
not
start
get
breeding
his
his Pokemon. Yeah,
Nope.
Cooper is the only coach who actually, takes the time to hard breed his Pokemon, guys. I'm going to come through with my pick. As I mentioned earlier, Donphan was the Pokemon I wanted. Unfortunately, a little bit of Snipe City there. So I'm going to go with Hitmontop. I'm going to dive the first person to dive into tier 4. I'm going to grab Hitmontop, man. I think it's a pretty good spinner. Obviously, that Intimidate allows him to serve as a pretty decent physically defensive Pokemon here. Not to mention, I love the opportunities of running Assault Vest, aka Bayv, which I love to run. And it's got priority 2, something my team didn't have otherwise. So I know it's kind of a little bit out there to draft this thing early in 4th round, but spinners are going quickly. In fact, I don't really think there's much left from spinners. So I like Hitmontop, Miguel.
Avalugg?
Yeah, Avalugg. Really, that's about what it's down to now.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great pick. I think it's the pick you needed. I think you needed to make this pick now because, as you said, the rapid spinners are running scarce. Blade Top, and I like it a lot.
So,
Ooh, speaking of spinners,
Yeah, one of the spinners I debated with, I was
You
kind of
couldn't
tossed
drop
up.
this.
I was
You have a
tossed. I was
Ferrothorn.
like, do I want to go Fortress or do I want to go, but I didn't want 2 fire weaknesses. I had Ferrothorn already. So, George and Sceptile MC going to pick up Fortress here, which does have that 4 times fire weakness, but we see a lot of fire resists on his team already, Miguel.
pretty much everything barring Nidoqueen. So I like this pick a lot. I think it's gonna fit. What I like about Fortress is its ability to Volt Switch and basically gain you momentum, and that's what I like. I think it's the strongest point, really.
Yeah.
I think it's a very solid
Well,
pick, and George will be able to mitigate.
I don't think you could forget about the fact that it does have the sturdy ability, which can be used
Yes.
very effectively with Custap Berry, getting
Yes.
up hazards, T-Spike, Spike, Stealth Rocks, having all 3 forms of entry hazards, except for Sticky Web, of course, and just being able to spin and do a lot of things reliably. I love this pick here. One of the few fairy types left. Tier 3 prankster monster that is Whimsicott. Fizz, I know you love this little cream puff here, this little puff. Talk to us about Whimsicott here, Fizz.
Oh man, so this thing is really cool. It fills my need for a grass type, and fairy types were so small. I love the fact that it can Prankster Encore. It's the anti-setup mon. Leech Seed is amazing. It can spread a little yellow magic. I was going to not come in for this pick, but I saw when I picked Mence that someone predicted Whimsicott in the chat, and I was like, man, I gotta come back and let him know I saw that. Good eye.
There's a Fairy Dragon Steel Core there too with Mega Scissor, Whimsicott, and Salamence, so very interesting there. And again, as we mentioned before, we see the hazard removers going, so don't be surprised to see them go again. Yeah, Barusha Donphan jumping into Tier 4 again. Now Tier 4 is starting to get some action here. Skuntank is going to be the next pick here in round 4, Miguel. What do you think about Skuntank? I mean, we know it is a great defogger, but it also gets Pursuit and a couple other good moves.
I'm a big fan of Skuntank, actually. I think it's phenomenal. I really like its typing. It's only weak to ground, and I really think Pursuit Trappers are really important in this format. And I think he also got the Fogger, so I think Lars got a lot of things out of a lower tier pick with this and I'm a big fan of it personally. I
Yeah,
think it's phenomenal.
just getting entry hazard removal without being weak to entry hazards is really, really useful. This thing can absorb T-spikes. It's a great Pokemon. I mean, like you said, and that poison typing to be a fairy killer can be pretty effective. Obviously, it's neutral to fairy because of its dark typing, but very interesting there. So, Miguel, you're going to grab an entry hazard setter yourself here. Tell us about Romeo, a little Roserade.
All right, let me talk a little bit about Roserade. I have a history with Roserade. I have been wanting to use this Pokemon in the League format for the longest of time, but I would always draft the poison type already and would figure, we reached the conclusion that, it just didn't fit my team. And this time around I was like, enough. My boy Envy, what's poppin' though? We had a live with this and we did pretty well. We know he knows the power of Roserade. People should know the power of Roserade. 125 special attack, technician, everything. I got flamethrower,
Technician,
ice
hidden
beam,
power.
Thunderbolt, you name it, baby. I got
Technician,
it.
hidden power. That is very, very cool.
And
again,
I
like the
got
fact that it's got
Toxic Spikes,
hazards.
too.
Yeah, Toxic Spikes and Spikes are very, very useful. And we'll see if you pick up a little Fire type. But finally, I think everyone was waiting for this Pokemon to go. It was a first-round pick, I believe, last season. And we're going to see Landorus Therian go for the New Orleans Pelipers, and Coach Pokemon finally grabbing Landorus T. And if you look at his team here, I'm actually blown away that he managed to get Landorus, Latios, and Mega Lopunny on one team.
It's very impressive, actually. Keep in mind that these are all his higher tier picks, so we're gonna start seeing some lower tier picks from John later on in the draft. But very strong core, very strong set of mods to have, really.
Yeah, I really want to. I think you brought up a good point that I want to kind of address. Multiple different. The teams are going to have different strategies. In this case, John seems to be loading up on his high tier picks early, but that's going to force him to pick a lot of lower tier Pokemon later. Whereas some of the other coaches have kind of dabbled between the different requirements, as you do have to draft one Pokemon in tier 1, one in tier 2, two in tier 3, one in tier 4, one in tier 5, a Mega, and then your 4 free Pokemon here. So Nick and the Boston Red Sox are coming in here, and they're going to pick Jolteon, a very, very good Pokemon, a previous GBA MVP winner. I don't know if Nick's here to talk. I think, Miguel, you could tell us a little bit about Jolteon, unless Nick's going to hop in here.
Nick?
I think you're good, Miguel. Go ahead. Tell us about Jolteon.
So, I knew this. This Pokemon is always every single time there's a draft, you're always like keeping in your mind like, when is Jolteon gonna get picked? Because Jolteon always gets picked. Why does it always get picked? Because it's exceptional. It's the same reasoning I gave from Mega Man Electric. Fast electric types are really good. They're very fast. They give you momentum, and they just deal with a lot of different things that you would otherwise have trouble dealing with. And I'm not surprised he took Jolteon. It actually gives his team a lot of much-needed speed, so I think it's great. And the Nido is taken as well. Gio, you gotta stop.
This team is insane. I'm not surprised to see Nidoking go round 4. I actually think Nidoking in some ways is better than Nidoqueen. They serve their own purposes here. But this thing is a monster, man. Being able to set up hazards, T-Spikes, and Stealth Rocks, priority with Sucker Punch, and then just the best coverage you could ask for out of a mixed wall breaker. Being able to be physically offensive or specially offensive, and then rocking that 85 base speed. You better have an insane defensive core, or you don't stand a chance against Gio's team, Miguel.
Yeah, Gio, like, the only thing you could capitalize on is his lack of speed, but he's still got quite a few.
But you say that, but he's got Zapdos, Entei, Manaphy all at base 100 speed tier.
Well, yeah,
so
but I'm talking about like lack of like super speed, like above 100,
That's
but,
true.
Yeah,
that is true. But in these formats,
so
you
much
find
power,
that
though. So much power.
A lot of teams
So much
only
power.
grab 1 or 2, or maybe Pokemon that go over that
Very
100
true.
speed tier. So
Very true.
Govs and the Arizona Deoxys kind of straying away from his super offense in the first 3 picks, grabbing a reliable defogger here in tier 2, Mandibuzz, Miguel.
Now, this is something that I really was not expecting, but it's not a bad pick. It's actually pretty good. It's a very bulky mon. He's got his defogger. He's actually got a response to a lot of threats, and I personally, I'm a fan of it. I think it's gonna work out for him. Mandibuzz has never been a bad mon. It's just that it's not overly impactful, but it's good at what it does. And I think Govs is gonna really like some bulk this time around, because I think that was his weakness last season. He lacked proper bulk, and he's definitely gonna Mandibuzz is good. I like it.
Yeah, Old Man Tup coming through here with his next pick. He is going to actually grab a very, very fast Pokemon out of tier 2 with 115 base speed. Tup, tell us about Azelf.
Hey, well, I built the hazard stacking core, I built the hazard removal, now I needed some coverage and a good U-turner to get some utilization out of what I've built so far. And Azelf being able to hit on the physical side and the special side, nothing wants to stay in and take a super effective hit from this thing. Expert Belt, it could also be lead set gives me another option for Stealth Rocks. And who doesn't love a good old Explosion as Elf?
Don't mind me, I just had to take it as
I
Elfie
want
real
to see
quick.
that. I want to see that, though.
Explosion Azelf is definitely an option. I had to take an Azelfie really quickly there. So moving into round off our round 4 picks, we're going to see Battler X and the Milwaukee Sawsbuck pick a Heliolisk here, moved up from tier 4 to tier 3. I don't see the weather to work with Heliolisk yet, but what do you think about Heliolisk, one of those fast electric types that, you know, are always so effective in the Draft League format?
I think Heliolisk is actually one of the best ones. I think it's I think it was one of the Atlanta Haluch's strongest pick in season 5 because they got it relatively early, but I think that was very smart of them to do. And I think this is very smart of Steve to do. I think Heliolisk is really good because of that water immunity that already makes it synergize somewhat well with the likes of Heatran. And I just, even if there's no weather support, I think Dry Skin is just so useful. And it's fast, it's got 109 speed, good offenses, exceptional coverage. Surf, Grass Knot, Focus Blast, Hyper Voice, Dark Pulse if you want to. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
like
does
this
have a lot of
Pokemon.
options.
I'm a big fan of Heliolisk.
Yeah, I am too, and you said that Dry Skin by itself, without the weather
Yes.
support, just being able to switch it on Scald is very, very useful. So here we see our summary, for round 4 of the GBA Season 6 draft. You know, I'll talk a couple, you know, points that I thought were very interesting. We saw a couple spinners go. Donphan, Hitmontop, and Fortress kind of leading the way for the defoggers to go as well. And again, as we mentioned in the last round, you see a lot of trends start to happen in these drafts as teams start to say, oh man, I need to grab my spinner, I need to grab my entry hazard removal. So definitely expect to see here, I think in round 5, whatever's left of entry hazard removal, you might see some of that go. Miguel, what was your big standout pick this round in round 4?
Well, this is actually really difficult because there's a couple of them that really stand out for me. But if I have to choose one, I'm gonna have to go with Mamoswine. Mamoswine is just so stupidly good in this format. Mamoswine is a pain to just build for because of that dual stab and because of the potential access to freeze dry as well. You really have to make sure you got the proper EVs to take this thing on with your dedicated counter. If you do have one on your roster, you know, and even if you do have a counter, that kid like 130 base attack, like my god. I ran Choice Band in Mamoswine and it legit just killed everything.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I'm actually really surprised to see Landorus Therian come through as a 4th round pick. Often looked at as being a top tier threat, perhaps a 1st round, maybe even 2nd round pick. This actually fell to round 4. It's gonna be interesting to see how.
Believe it or not, I do prefer Mamoswine over Landorus though, because Landorus can be taken advantage of in this format with that quad weakness. You know
I
what
definitely agree. In some ways, I definitely agree. And also, one of the big advantages there is Mamoswine is a tier 2 pick, whereas Landorus is a tier 1 pick. So you really have to kind of, you know, balance your options there. But I think we're about ready. I think we're about ready to jump into round 5. Just a reminder before we jump into round 5, guys, you can type !draft in the chat, and we will get the command for you guys to check out the draft document by Dallas Staryu, which is being live updated as these picks are coming through. So if you want to see what Pokemon are still available and what hasn't been drafted yet, I mean, I can look through the list right now. Raikou and Superior, Talonflame, Terrakion, Gengar, some of those Pokemon still haven't been touched. You got in tier 2 Alakazam and Breloom and Chansey and Feraligatr. A lot of these really, really good Pokemon that normally you would see go so early. It's going to be interesting to see whether they're going to go here in round 5. But I think it's about time. Battler X's pick is in, of course, and he's got the wheel. After grabbing Heliolisk, he is going to grab Mienshao as his second tier 3 Pokemon. Miguel, I know Mienshao is a monster with that base 105 speed stat. How do you think Steve is going to use it, or Battler X is going to use it this season? Do you think he's going to high jump kick his opponents to victory?
I mean, I think that's the kind of thing you would expect from Battler X, just like high jump kick. And I think Mienshao is very scary. We all know how scary it is as a Scarfer. You know, Scarf Reckless High Jump Kick can really clean up a game without you, like, you can be led to that situation and then all of a sudden be like, oh man, I just get swept by this thing.
Yeah, I just click High Jump Kick and win. It's very, very scary. And forcing your opponent to sacrifice a move slot for Protect just to counter that is kind of like almost, it makes it very tough to team build against. So you see him pick up a couple of really good wall breakers there with Pinsir and Mienshao, just an absolute monster. Old Man Tup and the Pittsburgh Piratas are going to grab Rotom Rotom Heat here. I personally think this is a phenomenal pick to fit with that Firewater Grass Core. Now, Tentacruel, Tangrowth, and Rotom Heat gives him a great pivot, a Volt Switcher to go with that U-turning Azelf, and he's got a lot of bulk and a lot of offense. I love this pick, especially with the 2 rapid spinners. Tup, if you're here, tell us about Rotom Heat.
You pretty much covered all my points
Sorry.
right off the bat, but I mean, I got a Will-O-Wisper because I didn't really have that thus far. Given the residual damage from the hazard stacking, I already have a big kick. And like you said, I've got 2 of the best rapid spinners in the format, and I've got a Volt Turner, and how impressive is the fire and electric stab in the format?
Very, very good, and the fact that it has that levitate just makes it that much harder to take down unless your opponent gets those stealth rocks up. But as we saw, actually, Tup grabbing Tangrowth, perhaps the closest Pokemon to Tangrowth in the format is going to be Amoonguss here, going for the Arizona Deoxys. Now, Amoonguss is a great Pokemon, having access to Spore, one of the few Pokemon with reliable sleep, but it also does have that regenerator ability, allowing it to serve as a phenomenal pivot. You could run it Assault Vest with Clear Smog and Foul Play, or you could just run it just straight up bulk with Black Sludge, and I've seen it even run effectively in Trick Room teams before. Miguel, what do you think about Amoonguss fitting on the structure of this team so far for Gubs?
Well, Amoonguss, first of all, Amoonguss is phenomenal, for all the reasons you stated. But I do feel like Gubs is developing a little bit of an ice weakness here. He does patch it up with Azumarill, but you don't want to bank on one Pokemon to bank. Obviously, he's got a bunch more picks to go. But I hope Gubs is aware of that, because ignoring the ice weakness that he can easily patch up later on, this is a phenomenal pick. Very strong. I'm a big fan of the grass poison typing, and I think it fits really well with the likes of Azumarill too. Like, he just took away one of Azumarill's biggest counters as well. So
yeah, so Gym Leader Geo's coming through, grabbing his Mega Emo as we saw it on on Lars's team last season. Mega Absol.
Emo's taken.
Yeah, which is actually going to give him some of those points back after franchising Entei, so that'll kind of even out his free point total a little bit to balance out this roster. Mega Absol's phenomenal. 115 base speed after Mega Evolution, incredible attack stat, and a 115 base special attack stat too, to take advantage of things like Fire Blast and even T-Bolt, allowing it to serve as a phenomenal wall breaker, and there's very few switch-ins to that knockoff. But the next pick coming through for Nick Super Blah and the Boston Red Sox is going to be Alakazam. Miguel, tell us why Alakazam is a great pick for the Red Sox here.
Alakazam is insane. 120 base speed with 135 base special attack with Magic Guard. That is nuts. You can slap. See, the thing about Alakazam is that people always expect it, or I'm not sure if they continue to do so now, but they've always expected it to be sashed. But you can slap a Life Orb on that thing, and it will hit so hard. It's quite scary, really. I think it has tremendous potential, and it's really patching up the Red Sox in the sense that it's giving them speed. Yes, Jolteon and Alakazam now. His previously slow team is actually very fast now. And that's honestly a little bit terrifying.
Yeah, I think one of the big assets to Alakazam is just its ability to switch in with that Focus Sash on any hazard or any entry hazards. The New Orleans Pelipers, after grabbing some really, really hard hitters with Landorus and Lopunny and Latios, gonna grab some bulk here with Umbreon, perhaps to kind of help out his Reuniclus from taking those knockoffs, perhaps. This Umbreon serves as a great cleric and wish passing Pokemon, being able to pass some pretty bulky wishes and just serve as a great defensive Pokemon in general. I'm really excited to see how John uses Umbreon this season.
It's also a pretty decent Pursuit Trapper, which is something people forget a lot too. So I like it a lot. I think it fits his core really well with Reuniclus and Latios and Lopunny. I like that. I like that bulk and that Baton Pass as well. I think you can get some nasty plays with this thing. It's a very annoying mon to kill. So
yeah,
I'm not happy he took it.
Yeah, 2 forms of recovery, Moonlight and Wish, so a couple different options there. Looks like you're coming up next with your Tier 2 pick, going for Goodra, which actually was dropped from Tier 1 down to Tier 2 after underperforming last season. Miguel, tell us why you decided to grab Goodra.
Well, this was not, unlike my other picks, this was not easy for me to make, because I initially wanted Salamence, but, Fizz, being Fizz, took it from me, and I kind of had to think a little bit, and I decided Goodra is not going to let me down. I needed some sort, because I want to have offensive threats, but at the same time, I want to be able to switch into things. And Goodra provides me with a very, very strong special tank that can take all sorts of things. It has accessory coverage on top of that. Power Whip, Muddy Water, Fire Blast.
It does have a lot of options. You can run it Assault Vested. You can run it physically offensive or especially offensive. It can be defensive. I've even seen it with acid armor to make it really, really effective. Lars and the Borussia Dawn fan here grabbing Aromatisse, actually, out of tier 4. A great fairy type, one of the few fairy types left, and I think you're going to see a trend here. The rest of the fairy types are probably going to go very soon. What do you think about Aromatisse going in round 5, Miguel?
Well, I think it's a proper moment to pick it up, honestly, because fairies, like, how many fairies are left? You know,
Not many. Lars, if you're
Aromatisse.
here, Lars, you can hop on real quick. I don't know if Lars is available. Yeah, he is. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Lars.
I've got them here. Yeah, I'm very happy I got the Aromatisse. One of the last fairies left. I was very scared that I would end up with no fairy. I had to draft like Mr. Mime or the Den. But I'm very happy with Aromatisse. Very underrated in tier 4, and many people even forget that it gets Trick Room. And so far, my team is not so fast, so I might utilize that at some point.
I like that. I like that a lot, and the fact that it is a heal beller, and it's got that aroma veil to kind of keep it immune to taunt and things like that can make it pretty effective. Fizzy Stardust and the Atlanta Hawluchas grabbing Rhyperior out of tier 4. Fizz, talk to me about Rhyperior.
I think you mean Big Poppy.
Big Poppy.
This is not 2.0 really.
No.
This big bulky SOB. I was running into a thing where I had a bit of a rocks weakness, and I didn't have a stealth rocker yet. And I think that rock types in the GBA format are actually really valuable. So I went out and got the best darn rock type I could get. The coolest looking one. He's got a freaking drill on his head and a spike.
And a spike and a drill, so you're getting hit twice with those drills. I actually love Rhyperior. You'd be surprised. It does have some 4 times weaknesses to water and grass, but with that solid rock ability, it actually can tank some hits surprisingly. It's actually really impressive. Miguel, tell me about
weakness is my specialty.
Yeah, actually, I'll talk about Snorlax here. Fizz. I'll talk about Snorlax here. We see a tier 3 pick Snorlax coming through for the the semifinalist Sceptile MC, grabbing the big bulky Snorlax. This thing is great with thick fat, allowing it to take both fire and ice type moves, which can kind of pair up really nicely with a lot of his maybe that Nidoqueen kind of covering that and the Fortress to take hits from there. He's got a lot of fighting type resistances with that Latios and the Nidoqueen to kind of help out his Snorlax. This thing is just a great bulky Pokemon, having the ability to set up curses and just kind of wreak some havoc on the opponent's team, just being so incredibly bulky and having decent coverage options as well.
Yeah, I like Snorlax a lot. I think it's what his team needed, and that thick fat is actually going to synergize really well with. Oh, okay.
I had to. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Metapods. Mr. Metapod is hyped, and you guys should be too. I'm going to grab Chansey.
I'm not hyped.
A staple from my Season 4 GBA team, forming the best wall core in the league with Mega Sableye and Chansey. Now I'm bringing Chansey to work with Ferrothorn, Altaria, Hitmontop, Rotom, and Victini. This thing is absolutely phenomenal, and it is the best special wall in the game. It does one thing incredibly well, and that is stop the opponents from breaking down the walls because it's just so bulky with reliable recovery. I love the fact that it gets Stealth Rocks. I love the fact that I can run counter on it pretty much every single week and still pick up kills, and it's just so bulky with that Eviolite, man. And if you want to hit knockoff, go for it, because Ferrothorn says, hey, I'm gonna poke you if you knock me off.
I also like the the Altaria resist fighting. I think that's very key. I like that.
So does
I like that
Victini
pick.
too, so I have a couple switch-ins for Chansey's only weakness, which is fighting. So Cooper coming through here, picking up his next pick. He is going to grab Gliscor out of tier 2. Great Pokemon with the ability to Poison Heal with Toxic Orb, set up Stealth Rocks. It could also be a defogger as well. I don't know if Cooper's here. Cooper, tell us about Gliscor, man.
So you
I'm
got
curious.
the
Very
Hank
interesting.
knockoff, and Gliscor just doesn't care. I kind of got 2. I see there's 3 pokes that I kind of used back in Gen 4 that I'm thinking about trying to see if I can get back to back to back. And I think Gliscor is the one who's most likely to go first. So let me just grab another wall who's immune to Toxic and Sand. That sounds pretty good. And it's got an ice weakness, of course, but hopefully we can pick that up for the next couple picks. And in addition to being a wall, it's got very serviceable speed and attack. So there's some
You could
versatility
sword
to be had
stance
there
and
as well.
EQ and really put in some work there. So there are some
We
options.
can break stall as well as use stall.
Stall Breaker is my favorite set.
Yeah,
personally.
with taunt stuff. It's very effective. Chimpact and the Philadelphia Scissors are coming through here, picking tier 4 Cofagrigus.
Wow.
Very, very cool Pokemon. I think this might have even went undrafted or was very much so not used last season, but I love this Pokemon being a Trick Roomer, being a nasty plot setup sweeper with Trick Room, and also having the ability to run Toxic Spike, something that makes it very unique, Miguel.
I actually know that Chimpact likes using this Pokemon. I've seen it in quite a number of his videos, in the higher tiers actually. He really, I believe he uses it with Toxic Spikes a lot, and he really likes the idea of taking away the ability from opposing mons when they touch it with Mummy. And I can see it. Confagurates actually has a lot of hazard stacking potential and a lot of walling potential as well. I actually really like this pick. And I think, Chimpact will definitely know how to use it. It's just draft what you're comfortable with, right?
Yeah, that is true, and that's a very good point to bring up really quickly, is that a lot of these coaches, they're going to draft Pokemon that they've used in the past, and that could be almost more valuable than the Pokemon itself.
Yes.
So, Sam and Fufu, the Mewcastle United, coming through with Virizion, one of the top threats in the RU tier, tiered in tier 4 here. This thing is a monster. I've actually been experimenting with it lately in RU, and this thing is such a good Pokemon in the fact that it can set up and sweep with Swords Dance. It can be especially offensive with things like Focus Blast and Giga Drain, and its base 108 speed really sets it apart from its opponents.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to emphasize on the speed. This thing is, I'm looking at Sam's team, and he's got a lot of diversity with his mons, and I like it. I like it. What I like about Virizion too is the fact that it can stake special hits really well. So I like that pick. It's not too much experience with that mon myself, but I think Fufu does know it well.
All right, so Envy and the San Diego Chimchargers are going to pick up regular Gyarados here out of tier.
Terrifying. I don't like you, Envy. Stop it.
Yeah, Envy's got a great team forming here. And here we are on the wheel. Tom and the San Jose Sharpedos are going to grab Crimson Sea Dog himself. Arcanine out of tier 3. Phenomenal Pokemon with Flash Fire, Intimidate. Another Pokemon with great multi-ability options, priority, and extreme speed. I'm not going to talk all day, though, Tom. Tell us about Arcanine.
Whoa, all right, it's Waffles. All right.
Waffles.
It's not Crimson Sea Dog. Anyway, Arcanine.
Slow Volt switch into this thing and actually give it a setup opportunity, which is actually quite terrifying. I don't like you, Envy. Stop it.
Yeah, Envy's got a great team forming here. And here we are on the wheel. Tom and the San Jose Sharpedos are going to grab Crimson Sea Dog himself. Arcanine out of tier 3. Phenomenal Pokemon with Flash Fire, Intimidate. Another Pokemon with great multi-ability options, priority, and extreme speed. I'm not going to talk all day, though, Tom. Tell us about Arcanine.
Whoa, all right, it's Waffles. All right.
Waffles.
It's not Crimson Sea Dog. Anyway, Arcanine. Old Faithful, I had this back in Season 1 and 2. I loved it. Kind of a common theme with my draft so far, but Arcanine, very good. I have a very good philosophy with Arcanine. Just Intimidate, always have recovery, always use it as some sort of wall, and if you need to go offensive, do it very safely. Anyway, Arcanine, I think, kind of wraps up my draft so far. It's probably my favorite fire type to use overall. And the Ice Cream Truck's here.
Ice Cream Truck is there, so that is awesome. But Arcanine is also awesome. Great pick there. Miguel, who do you think was the standout for this round as we look at the summary for round 5? Some really awesome picks. But Miguel, which one stood out to you the most?
A good set amount of really strong picks, but I am going to have to go with the Boston Red Sox and Alakazam. I think that pick is tremendous, and I think it does so much for Nick's team. It's ridiculous. It gives him another very speedy Pokemon alongside Jolteon, and that's really terrifying, really. When you combine good, solid speed and power with proper bulk and things to switch into and pivots, that leads to very, very strong, very balanced teams, and that's terrifying. Not gonna lie, that's terrifying.
I gotta say, one of the picks I really liked out of round 5, I gotta give you some props here, Miguel. I like Goodra. I think Goodra is going to be
Ryan.
and can be one of the most effective Pokemon in this format. I actually don't even think it
I'm
should
really
drop
happy
down to
with it.
tier 2. I think it's very good. Its bulk is insane. Dragon typing is great offensively, and just the simple fact that it could be especially offensive or physically offensive. You could drop a Draco and then click Outrage on the next turn, man. You have a lot of options with Goodra. I think that versatility is going to be very useful.
I want to point out that Goodra, I feel like it's a Pokemon that's really going to fit my style, and I really like Mons with very diverse coverage options. That's why I really liked Mew last season. That's why I loved Greninja. And I think Goodra can provide that for me, but instead of giving me speed, it gives me a pivot. And I'm very excited to use it. I don't have the most experience with Goodra, but that makes it overall even more exciting for me, really. I'm very pumped to use that Pokemon. I'm very excited about it.
I gotta say, though, I'm gonna toot my own horn here. Gotta give some shout outs to Donald Trump for inspiring me to get the biggest of walls here for the GBA Season 6 draft to my team. I had to grab Chansey, man. Seeing it fall to
I forgot about it.
seeing Chansey fall to round 5, I had to grab it. I just had to.
Why does it learn Stealth Rocks? I hate the fact that it learns Stealth Rocks.
Stealth Rocks, don't forget it could be a Wish Pat. It
hate
could be Wish, it could be Soft Boiled. Counter is very effective. Obviously, running T-Wave or Toxic. Seismic Toss is relatively reliable. So we're going to make Pokemon great again. And we're going to grab Tom here. Hopefully the Ice Cream Truck is gone. And Tom can get us kicked off here for round 6. As we're about to jump into round 6, we're about halfway through the GBA Season 6 draft, guys. Exclamation point draft in the chat if you want to see the live document being updated. Exclamation point GBA shirt in the draft if you want to pick up a shirt from your favorite team. Tom, here you go. You're ready to rock. Round 6. Let's hear it. Is Tom here?
Ice cream truck.
He had to go get a snow cone, guys.
It's still here. Let's go. Hype. Ice cream. I want an ice cream myself, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we'll persevere. I'm going to go for this round. I like bulky waters. I won't consider Starmie a super bulky water, but I'm looking for something. So I'm actually going to steal Tup's wall core from last season, Jellicent.
There you go, Jellicent. Actually, I believe Jellicent to be one of the top tier 4 Pokemon, being just as incredible bulky water as you mentioned, and pairing it very nicely with Arcanine, just kind of matching each other's weaknesses. Let's not forget that this thing could be using Will-O-Wisp as it gets Hex, and you've got other opportunities.
It also synergizes really well with Mamoswine. It's immune to water and it's immune to fighting, so I like that a lot too.
Good points. I really like Jellicent. I think it's definitely one of the best bulky waters that were left in the draft. And again, it has some options not to forget. I believe it does get Trick Room too, and if you get a Trick Room Choice Spec Sylveon happening at some point, I think the game's over. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, but I'm really excited to see what happens here in round 6 after the San Jose Sharpedos as we work our way back down.
I love that he's fake. I love that he was explaining with the ice cream.
The ice cream truck, of course.
So much. That's so
Lord
perfect.
Envy here, grabbing one of the top tier 3 threats. This thing, I think it should have been tier 2. Haxorus, base 97 speed, Mold Breaker, and Dragon Dance. Talk to us about Haxorus here, Miguel.
Haxorus, I actually have experience with this Pokemon. I used this in Season 3 of the GBA, and I defeated the Atlanta Haluchas with this bad boy in an epic game. So Haxorus will always have a special place in my heart, and I can definitely confirm that this Pokemon is exceptional. It's really good. It gets outclassed in certain roles in standard play, but in the League format, that is not a thing. So this Pokemon is actually very threatening. That attack stat is over the top, and it can Dragon Dance, it can Source Dance on you. You can see some Tailwind Choice Band. It's really scary, really strong.
Yeah,
overall.
it is incredibly scary here. We've got the Mewcastle United coming through with his next pick, grabbing one of the few fairy types left out of tier 2, Klefki, the Prankster Shenanigans Pokemon. Now, just to clarify, there is no Swagger Clause in the GBA, so this thing is fully able to run Swagger and Foul Play and probably cause someone to throw their DS into the ground.
I don't like that I see Mew and Klefki and Crobat, and this is so obnoxious. This team is looking so obnoxious to face. My God.
I think when you look at Sam's team on paper right now, it might not stand out to you like MV's team might or other teams might. But there's just so many tools on this team that just have so much versatility, and they could really do a lot of cool stuff. So I'm really excited to see how Klefki works here. But Chimpact with a surprise pick, grabbing the first tier 5, I believe, Frogadier, the Protein Mini Greninja. This thing rocks base 97 speed as well, I believe, and it has a crazy move pool, and of course gets to change its type on any attack. Do you think Frogadier is going to make an impact this season for Chimpact's team?
First of all, chat, who expected this pick? Because I certainly did not. I did not see this coming. Like, Chimpact is really, really surprising me with a lot of these picks, like Gryffagrigus, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. But it's at the same time, it's kind of like, I wasn't expecting it. And Frogadier is very interesting. We've never seen it used in the League format. I honestly don't know. Like, I'm not even sure what its speed stat is. Is it 90,
I think it's 97. Yeah, it's 97.
97, okay.
So very good Pokemon. It's going to be interesting to see how it kind of works out.
Protein is great. So
It is. And Cooper coming through here, grabbing another bulky water. Again, we're seeing them go. This one's a little bit unique, though, being one of the few that actually can set up hazards with Stealth Rock and also remove them with Defog. I think that's going to add a lot of utility to Cooper's team. Cooper, tell us about Empoleon.
Exactly. So this is the second part of the combo I wanted to get, and I saw the teams picking after me. We already have Blastoise, Crobat, Togekiss, Starmie, so we already got some water types and hazard removers, so I felt like that would be safe to go ahead and get back to me on this pick. We got another tank who's immune to Toxic and Sand, and its typing complements Gliscor really well. It cancels out, Gliscor cancels out Empoleon's electric and ground weaknesses, and then the ice and the water attacks aimed at Gliscor get taken up by Empoleon pretty well. So
fighting as well, Gliscor can resist those fighting types aimed at Empoleon. So a lot of great.
Got another
the synergy between isn't the synergy perfect defensively? It must be.
It It certainly looks like it. So I realized coming into my next pick here that I was lacking a little bit of speed. So I said at the beginning of the draft, my focus here is to make Victini the best Pokemon it's ever been. And we are going to grab Galvantula here, Aragog.
No.
This thing is the best sticky web setter. Miguel, you can tell me what you think, man, because I know why I picked Galvantula.
Yeah. I not only Victini, I also really like Sticky Web with Mega Altaria. That is very terrifying because if Mega Altaria outspeeds you right off the bat, you're dead. You're just dead.
I'm really excited about this thing, and I ran a lot of calcs prior, when I was doing my team prep and my planning for the draft, and I just saw that, the Compound Eyes Thunder coming off this thing hits harder, and it makes that low special attack stat
You got your
so
electric
much
type, too.
better. Yeah, it makes it so much better. So.
Yeah,
All right, so
I love it.
we're gonna see George and the San Francisco Arcaniners grabbing regular Gardevoir here now. You might think, what about Mega Gardevoir? But I can tell you, using Mega Gardevoir right now in a different league, this thing is actually very, very good. It's got that 80 base speed, which puts it just above a lot of the slower, the bulkier Pokemon. And that 125 special attack stat is nothing to laugh about, Miguel.
Yeah, no, I think this Pokemon has a lot of utility too. There's Will-O-Wisp, Taunt,
Destiny Bond.
It's
Trick.
a really cool mon, and it's not a mon to be underestimated. Psychic Fairy is actually pretty decent too, because it's a fairy type that doesn't care about poison types. So
exactly, and it does have Focus Blast as well to deal with steel types, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, etc. So a lot of different opportunities. You can run a Calm Mindset and so on. I love this pick. This is one of my favorite Pokemon in the game. Porygon 2. Fizz gonna grab Porygon 2, and I'm really excited to see how he utilizes this Pokemon. It's great bulk because of its Eviolite. It can run Bolt Beam, which is Discharge or Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam, which makes it pretty effective with that. And it's just so bulky with Recover and Toxic and Thunder Wave and Trick Room, and it just does so many things.
Yeah, I know. Porygon is outstanding. It's just outstanding. Exceptional bulk and really good utility. If it learns Stealth Rocks, I would just jump out the window. That's, at least it doesn't learn Stealth Rocks. Thank goodness.
Yeah, but otherwise, this thing is incredibly good, and really that's why that's why I went with Chansey over P2, just because of that Stealth Rocks. But Porygon 2 is a phenomenal pick, and we'll see how it pairs up with Salamence and so on. But Lars here and the Borussia Donphan are gonna pick the little mini Mew here, Mesprit out of tier 4, I believe. Talk to us about Mesprit, Lars.
Yeah, tier 4 is right, and yeah, I'm a big fan of Mesprit. It's probably one of my favorite mons in the format. It's a discount Mew. Of course, it cannot do as good as Mew, but it costs way less. And one big thing for my team at the moment, it learns Stealth Rock. If you look at my team, only Landorus learns Stealth Rock so far, and I don't want to run rocks on Landorus every time. So, and having a mon with such a wide move pool, Healing Wish, potentially Trick Room even too, I couldn't resist in not playing it.
Yeah, it's got great.
This is funny considering my next pick.
Yeah, it's funny. It's got great stat distribution across the board too. A lot of utility with Mesprit. I think it's one of those gems, and here we're gonna see another one of them. So the Wood Trio is gone. Miguel, tell us about Uxie. I love this Pokemon. I used it last season. So.
Yeah, I definitely when I was preparing for you in season 5. This was actually the Pokemon that gave me the most headaches. It's really solid. It's actually really fast for how bulky it is. And if you look at my roster, I have a lot of offensive threats. I got Hazard Control, but I got no Stealth Rocker. I need to start racking up, ways to Stealth Rock. And I love Uxie as a pivot. I love Pokemon that can set up rocks, U-turn, get the hell out of there, and get
or
something,
Memento too. It does get Memento.
And Memento.
Dual screens.
Fire Punch, Ice Punch. Really good coverage. Not the best offensive stats, but it can set up Calm Minds as well. I really feel like this Pokemon fits my team well. Yeah, I needed that bulk. I needed that pivot. I feel like Uxie just grants me everything that my team needed at this point.
Yeah, our next pick coming through the New Orleans Pelipper's grabbing the big slug here, Gary Gastrodon. Of course, Gastrodon has that big 4x weakness to grass, but otherwise is really reliable as a defensive Pokemon. Its stats may not jump out at you, but that Storm Drain allows it to suck up those skulls without a problem, and its typing allows it to pretty much take hits from anything neutral except for grass types, of course.
I think Gastrodon is a Pokemon that I've personally underestimated in the past, because whenever you face it, it's actually a lot harder to kill than you would expect. And what I don't like about Gastrodon is that it can't set up rocks, and that's why I've never been the biggest fan. But that ability to recover and the ability to just tank like grass attacks, this thing is so stupidly bulky. So I think it'll do well for John. It'll provide him bulk that he wants.
Yeah, so
Ooh.
Nick coming through with a surprising pick. I've yet to see this thing really shine in the upper echelon of the GBA, but I think this could be the season for it. Feraligatr, of course, rocking that sheer force, having the ability to Dragon Dance. It has great coverage with Ice Punch and Waterfall. Priority with Aqua Jet, could be an SD set, and you can even run special Feraligatr, man.
Feraligatr is a threat. Like, the coach of the Long Island Regirockies last season actually got a 6-0 sweep with it. This thing is in the hands of Nick. I am terrified because he already has the speed, the revenge killers. Now he's got the setup sweeper and the bulk to back it up. So, it just fits his team so well. It fits his team so well.
It is very impressive, and I think Feraligatr could really, shine this season. Gym Leader Geo coming through, actually jumping into Tier 5 now. Kind of starting to mix things up. He's going to grab Miltank out of Tier 5. A very bulky Pokemon with an impressive 100 base speed stat. A little surprising to see it from this Miltank. I know a lot of people have bad memories of facing Whitney back in the day. Miguel, you seem to be a little bit upset about Miltank going here in the 6th round.
He's taking all the fat stuff, man. Like, what is this?
I know. This thing is a beast. Yeah, having the ability.
Why do you need a cow?
I agree. Having the ability to milk drink and have reliable recovery, not to mention set up stealth rocks and just paralyze things with body slam.
Fat Boz that set up stealth rocks, even though I do like Uxie.
Miltank is very good, and Geo's team
I'm a hypocrite. But yeah.
Me too, man. Geo's team is starting to formulate to be something pretty impressive here. Gub's coming through with his next pick, another stealth rocker, a reliable stealth rocker. At that, having two really good abilities, which can be kind of tricky to use in the GBA with Levitate and, of course, Heat Proof. Bronzong, very good pick, again, being so incredibly bulky, but it does lack that reliable recovery. You see him starting to grab some bulky Pokemon, Amoonguss, Mandibuzz, Bronzong. How do you think this will fit on Gub's team?
I mean, I like the ice weakness. I think that's the first thing to point out. I like that. He's patching up, the Garchomp, Mandibuzz, Amoonguss. Like, he's adding to his core. I think he definitely needed a Steel type. And it's nice to have a Steel type that, what I like about Bronzong for the League format is that you can play some very cool mind games with your opponent as to, like, which of the two abilities you're bringing, Levitate or Heat Proof. So that's what I like the most about Bronzong. And hey, he's got a Stealth Rocker, takes pressure off Garchomp, and potentially Trick Room with a Azumarill too. I like it.
Okay, cool. So the Pittsburgh Piratas is coming through with another Pokemon that was undrafted last season, but I picked it up in free agency. It actually won the 7th Pokemon of the Year award, which goes towards Pokemon who were very effective in not being in a lot of games, but really had their impact known. Heracross, such a great wall breaker. That dual stab, bug, and fighting actually works out incredibly well, being both base 120 power. What do you think about Heracross here as a wall breaker for Old Man Tup?
I think Heracross is actually a Pokemon that I really like. I love, my favorite set is the Choice Banded set with Sleep Talk, because if it gets put to sleep, then it gets the Guts boost, and that's just monstrous. Nothing switches into that, not even some stuff that resist it. So I think it's gonna fit Tup's team really well. It's gonna synergize well with Azelf, which gives speed, and he has a wall breaker now. So I like it a lot. I like Heracross for his team.
I do too. Now, just to clarify, Hoopa Unbound is not allowed in the GBA. But Hoopa is. So we're going to see Tier 3 regular Hoopa get picked by Battler X, the Ghost Psychic type Pokemon here, which does have an impressive special attack and special defense stat. Do you think Hoopa is going to have an impact this season, Miguel?
I'm not sure if it's the best fit for his team, even though I'm already seeing synergy with Heliolisk, for example, because of, Hoopa is quad weak to Ghost, so that's nice. But he does have a Slowbro. Like, he's already sharing a few, he's sharing that typing. I don't know, but I honestly don't really know how good Hoopa is. Like, I've never really tried. I've loved using Hoopa Unbound, but I've never really tried Hoopa myself, so I can't really say what I feel about that pick personally.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of works out. I know Old Man Tup was itching to jump on and talk about Heracross, so here we have our summary for round 6. So Tup, if you're here and you want to give us your thoughts on Heracross, feel free to hop in. If not, he's here. Tup, tell us about Heracross.
Heracross, like you said, it was one of the ones I debated on drafting last season, but I opted to go with Machamp, and we all saw how well that worked out. But it just fit well with the team. It gave me a lot of power that I could bring in. I mean, Moxie or Guts. I mean, it's something you have to prepare for. I didn't really have a status absorber on the team.
Yeah, that's what it does best.
Was something I saw, and it really stood out to me, and was two of the typings I didn't have thus far. And it just fit in well with the team.
I love it. I love it. I definitely love that pick, and I think it's a great Pokemon, and I'm excited to see you use it. Hopefully, excuse me, not against me. Miguel, standout pick this round. Who do you think made away the best in round 6?
I am gonna have to declare a tie, personally, between the San Diego Chin Chargers Haxorus and the Boston Red Sox Feraligatr. I think those are the two biggest. They're the most impressive for me. Like they're scary. They're both very scary.
I agree. They just looking at their base stats alone and just looking at what they can do as both Dragon Dance setup sweepers or Swords Dance sweepers, they just stand out as being very, very effective at sweeping and cleaning up late game. And it's gonna be exciting to see this season how those two different coaches utilize those Pokemon. I think one of the biggest surprise picks for me this round to see, and one of my personal favorite picks that I think was very, very a great value is Gardevoir for Sceptile MC. I think Gardevoir is just such a good and underrated Pokemon by itself because it gets so outshone by, Mega Gardevoir, but Gardevoir itself can be really effective as a Choice Scarfer or simply as, like you said, a utility.
Yeah.
Your opponent switches in a threat to kind of counter it, and you hit him with a Will-O-Wisp, and all of a sudden, things change, and having the ability to heal Bell, and it just has a lot of options. So I really, really like Gardevoir, and I think it was a pretty good pick to see.
I want to point out, I think that one of the, a pick that is very fascinating to me, that I'm very eager to see this thing used and see how efficient it can be, is Frogadier from
I agree.
Philadelphia Scizors.
I do want to point out, I'm seeing some people in the chat right now. This is live, by the way, guys. I'm seeing some people in the chat right now saying, how can you run Frogadier with Eviolite? You don't run Frogadier with Eviolite. You run it with Life Orb or Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. Typically, Life Orb or Choice Scarf for Frogadier because it doesn't need an Eviolite. It's going to die to a Pebble anyway, so you might as well take advantage of what it does best, which is have that good speed stat at 97, which is very effective, and also a pretty decent special attack stat that is more effective when you pair it with a Life Orb, and the fact that it's getting stab or same type attack bonus on every attack it goes for because of its protein ability. It sounds like the police are after one of us, but I think it's time for us to jump into round 7. The Milwaukee Sawsbucks on the wheel pick. Here we go. We are going to kick things off, and he is going to break the world with Sawsbuck.
Oh, I did not see this coming. That was easy.
Are you kidding me? Battler X coming off one of the worst seasons in GBA history from taking over the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, of course, grabbing Sawsbuck himself. I am blown away here. I am blown away.
I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan because we see Mew and the Newcastle United, and we see. Am I gonna have to take Marrow, Dan? Oh God.
He might have to draft Marrow.
I don't want to take Marrow.
Wait, am I gonna draft Metapod?
Yes, you have to. You have to.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's actually seriously talk about Sawsbuck. Decent attack stat, is normal and grass type if you didn't know. And what it does do is it's got Serene Grace. It's got Serene Grace. So maybe we'll see that come into play. But Old Man Top, tell us about your pick here, jumping deep into tier 3. A tier 3 mega, perhaps it should have been a tier 1 mega in my opinion. But tier 3 mega Pidgeot. Top, talk about Mega Pidgeot.
The bird spam is real. I've got hazard stacking out the wazoo, and I've got bird spam hurricanes that are just going to put holes in teams. I'm not worried about the rock weakness on my mega because I have 2 great rapid spinners, and I'm just ready to take on the world with this thing.
One thing I want to point out here, too, that I think a lot of people get lost on is the fact that Mega Pidgeot gets to click one move, Hurricane, and that move is never going to miss. And the nice thing about that, people talk about Scald Burns. You know what's even more annoying than a Scald Burn? A Hurricane Confusion. Yeah. So let's not forget that that is a very, very big asset. 30% chance for Hurricane to confuse, so it's going to be very interesting to see how Tubb utilizes that. Miguel, you know all about Emboar, so just tell us about the pig that got moved from Tier 4 to Tier 3 this season.
So this wasn't on my radar this time around because I want to switch things up every season, but it's still a little bit heartbreaking to see. My boy Bernardo, my Emboar, one of the MVPs for me last season, alongside Mamoswine. These two, there were no walls these two were not able to break. Nothing.
I think Gubbs actually wants to hop in here too. Gubbs, are you available to talk about your Emboar pick? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, go for it, Gubbs.
So this pick mainly wasn't just for the power and versatility. It was more so because I have a team that can reliably get up rocks already. I have Bronzong and Garchomp, and putting Emboar on the team with Mega Manic Trick, Azumarill, really is going to force a lot of switches. So The plan is hopefully get up those hazards early and force a lot of switches, and wear teams down, and then obviously get off big hits with Manic Trick and Emborn. Hopefully that saves the day. So we'll see if my team can do that this season.
All right, I definitely like the
And
Embor
an
pick.
ice resistance too.
Yeah, there you go. I love Embor. That Reckless just hits hard. I got to jump ahead here to Gym Leader Geo grabbing Chestnut. Really, really big, bulky, physically defensive Pokemon with Spiky Shield,
Just
of course,
more
having the
bulk.
ability.
Just why not? Why
Yeah,
not? Oh,
I know,
God,
right?
Geo.
To pair with
I
it,
hate
and
you.
that's your Firewater Grass Core right there, Manaphy, Entei, Chestnut. You'll hear us talk a lot about Firewater Grass Cores and Fairy Steel Dragon Cores throughout this draft, as those three types typically synergize very nicely with each other. The Boston Red Sox coach Nick Superblaw
wow.
coming through here with a big heavy hitter here in Tier 3, one of the heaviest of hitters in the draft overall. Darmanitan hitting incredibly hard with that sheer force power, and this thing is an absolute monster.
This thing is actually really strong, and it actually adds more to the already quite prevalent offensive presence of the Boston Red Sox. Like, pair this with Kieran Black, pair this with Pharrell. It's pretty nasty. Darmanitan is actually, I feel like it's a little bit underrated, and I think because a sheer force powered Flare Blitz from 140 base attack, like, that is no joke. That is no joke.
It's going to put in the work, and he does have that hazard removal with Skarmory to kind of help out the Darmanitan, which of course does have that big weakness to Stealth Rock. So, I mean, those things are going to hold it back a little bit, but it serves as a tremendous wall breaker. The New Orleans Pelipper's coach John Pokemon here grabbing Tier 4 Escavalier, another one of those bug steel types that only has one weakness, of course, fire type, which he actually patches up pretty nicely with his Latios and his Gastrodon. I love Escavalier, one of my favorite Pokemon. What do you think about the Escavalier?
I mean, I had this bad boy in Season 4. I know I used it to counter the Milwaukee Bucks Latios. This Pokemon is actually really good. It's so hard, and it can take HP fires with that Assault Vest, which I really like about it. It makes it really reliable. So I'm a big fan of this pick, and I love the synergy with Gastrodon. Like, those two quad weaknesses, you don't care. You see that coming. You know, you scout for it.
And I do love the fact that it does have the, I believe it's called Overcoat ability, making it immune to moves like Spore. Miguel, looks like you decided to grab another wall here to go with Uxie to take some of that Stealth Rock pressure off. Tell us about Registeel.
Well, I want more options to Stealth Rock. I don't want to make the mistakes that I made in the past of having very few mons that can set up rocks. That's what I liked about my previous draft last season, and that's what I want to create. You know, I got a lot of offensive presence. I got Weavile, I got Roserade, I got certain, stuff in the back planned, which I'm confident I'll get. Looking at how the draft is going, and I like Registeel because it's a pure steel type that can switch into any sort of dragon, and I love this pure typing. I love his access to Stealth Rocks, Thunder Wave. I think Registeel is just gonna grant me with something that I can switch into a lot of different things, and it's gonna give some breathing room for my faster mons, basically. So that's why I chose it.
All right, here we see Lars and the Barrage Don fan grabbing a familiar face, Poop Dragon, from his team last season. This thing gave me fits. My Victini hated this thing. Lars, tell us why you decided to grab Druddigon again.
Yeah, I was still missing a dragon for my favorite Dragon Steel Core, and if Druddigon is still around, I just gotta pick it. He's back. He was great last season. I could sadly only really show off the Rocky Helmet Ruskin set, so I'm looking forward to maybe do some Sheer Force shenanigans this time.
Yeah.
It hits
But
hard.
it's
It
great.
hits hard, yeah.
It hits so hard, be it just being passive with Rocky Helmet Ruskin, of course, and it's another rocker. Now I don't only have Mesprit and Landorus, so I had to spread them out a bit, same with what Miguel already said. And I have my core complete, so that's something.
I think Druddigon is exceptional. I think it's really good.
Do we have a mascot pick?
Oh, another one?
Are you serious?
What's happening?
Miguel, we have to draft Metapod and Meryl
I
now.
have to get Meryl. Well, at least you get Metapod. That's cool. I still got huge power, so that's fine.
Oh my goodness,
God.
Fizz and the Atlanta Hawluchas grabbing the mascot pick. Hawlucha, a Pokemon that I believe might have been, was it undrafted? No, I think it was drafted last season, but typically hasn't shown itself to be very effective, but we know this thing can put in the work. Incredible speed stat, Unburdened to make it so it outspeeds everything in the world, and Swords Dance will power up its attack to enormous levels, allowing it to break some walls. It's gonna be interesting to see how Fizz uses this Hawlucha this season. His mascot pick, maybe that'll curse him, and Volcanion will just end up being horrible. Who knows?
I mean, I like the speed that it provides him right off the bat. I love that. For sure.
All right.
Ooh.
So Sceptile MC and the San Francisco Arcanines are going to grab Spiritomb. Very interesting pick here to see Spiritomb. Only one weakness, of course, which is Fairy type, and we do see him having that Nidoqueen to sponge those Fairy type hits. Same with the Forretress. Now this thing could be very effective as a nasty plot Pokemon. It can run Calm Mind. It can run Rest and Sleep Talk. Will-O-Wisp. It gets priority again with Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak. This thing can be very, very effective as a defensive Pokemon, only really lacking with its HP stat, but its bulk, its physical and special defensive bulk are just insane. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how George uses Spiritomb this season, because this Pokemon hasn't really stood out as one of those Pokemon that's gonna like lead the team in kills by any means, but it's a very, very
It is
Pokemon.
obnoxious to prepare for, though, because of that
It
pursuit
is.
trapping potential. God damn it, Dan.
I gotta do it, Miguel. I gotta take a page out of Miguel's book again here. I'm gonna go with Dragalge here for my
The
tier
core,
3 pick.
The
Yeah.
core. The
Dragalge
core.
off, like, just synergy from a type perspective again, just fits so well with the rest of my team. And I love the fact that this gives me a great poison type. Not only that, but it allows me to set up toxic spikes as well.
The
And
hazard
that
stack is real
yeah,
now.
that adaptability, Draco Meteor and Sludge Wave are just insane, Miguel.
Yeah, I've always been a huge advocate of Dragalge with Ferrothorn and Mega Altaria. I think that's just such a strong core defensively. Dragalge can take on so many different mons. Keldeo, Mega Venusaur, he shuts them down completely just by switching in. And he hits so hard and also has good utility. I'm a big fan of that mon. I've always been. It's my favorite dragon in the game. So.
Yeah, I definitely took some Real Marill inspiration from last season for a couple of those Pokemon there. But the Utah Jasmine are going to go with the Flying Saucer itself, Magnezone. A very, very interesting Pokemon that can trap Steel types, of course. But not only that, it hits incredibly hard with that really, really high special attack stat. Does lack a little bit on the speed side of things, but it is a really, really interesting Pokemon that typically is held back by its weakness to ground. But I think Cooper can play around it and make it pretty effective. Cooper, if you want to tell us about your Magnezone pick, fire away, my friend.
Yeah, one problem with my last two picks of Gliscor and Empoleon is they kind of get blasted by Bolt Beam. So let's grab someone who resists Bolt Beam. Not many things do, and Magnezone does. And it's also
It does.
That is true. I guess I didn't even think about that.
You know,
I mean, isn't it the Pokemon with like the most resistance in the game? Or
it's
close
got
to
a
it?
butt ton, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So, all right. So our next pick here coming through. Hold on, I gotta ban someone in the chat for being an idiot. We've got the Philadelphia Scissors Chimpat coming through with Kingdra as his pick. Very interesting to see the Rain Sweeper Kingdra, but let's not forget Focus Energy, Scope Lens, Draco Meteors are not a joke.
I actually like Kingdra a lot. It is actually, I'm not sure how it fits his team right now. I mean, he does have Tornadus. He doesn't have a Rain Setter though, does he?
Not yet.
I guess-
Politoed is actually
I guess-
undrafted at this point.
Oh,
in time.
Blastoise could have Rain Dish, so I guess he could set up Rain Dances with it and stuff. But I like Kingdra. I like Kingdra. It's very powerful, and if he finds the proper synergy for it, he could be very threatening. But I'm not entirely sure what he wants to do with this Pokemon, but I like it. I think it's a good pick.
All right, this is one of my favorite picks,
Oh!
actually, that we've seen in this round. I love Electros, and Fufu coming through here, going to grab Electros, a great Assault Vest user, great Assault Vest pivot. This thing has coverage like crazy, Miguel.
That's exactly what Fufu needed, you know, like a Pokemon with no weakness. Yeah, sure. Crap. Yes, Klefki already. Like this team. I'm saying it. This team is gonna be so obnoxious to prepare for. Like,
I know,
like, this
I
thing
know.
is so good. This thing has Giga Drain, Flamethrower. Like,
It can be
ridiculous
offensive from
coverage.
both sides. Knockoff
Yeah.
and Drain Punch, let's not forget about those. This thing's coverage is phenomenal. It can even run Wild Charge if you want to, but standardly running Volt Switch. But in the GBA, you know what your opponent's 11 Pokemon are, so you can customize this thing's moveset to make it work. Very surprising pick here in round 7. Envy picking a Pokemon that's
Wow.
previously been undrafted, grabbing the
Whoa.
tier 5 Gorbis. Now, I do want to point out, guys, that the Baton Pass clause... Yeah, Smash Passing is allowed in the GBA, so he can go
That is
for
terrifying.
Shell Smash and Baton Pass and win.
He's gonna freeze everything with Jirachi and just Shell Smash on you and sweep you. That's
I
a
hope that
strategy.
doesn't happen. Can I just not play him? Can I just choose to not play him? Is that an option?
Oh my god, Envy. Oh my god,
Oh
your
my
team-
goodness. That's a bit scary. That is a bit scary. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm actually in Envy's division, so looks like I'm going to deal with that twice this season.
Good luck, have fun. Good luck, have fun.
Guys, exclamation point draft in the chat if you want to look at the draft as it's going live, as Dallas Staryu is updating things as we go. And Tom here is going to round out round 7 with a very surprising pick coming out of Tier 3,
pick.
Noivern. Tom, if you're here, hopefully there's no ice cream trucks. Tell us about Noivern.
Gives him speed, man.
The ice cream truck has, in fact, left. So, Noivern, I saw someone in the chat mention that I don't have any ground weaknesses or any resistances. Now I do, 1. And 2, it rounds out my Dragon Fairy Steel Core. And I think Noivern is something that's very underrated. We've seen, Mulvone have it the past few seasons, and it hasn't been the most star-studded pick, but I think it holds a lot of utility, a lot of purpose, and a lot of good options like the Tailwind and Super Fang, stuff like that. U-turn, scouting, all that.
I think this is the Mon that really caused me to lose the playoffs last season because I wasn't anticipating it. I didn't really prepare for it, and it was such a good lead because of the high speed. I sped my Greninja and the Frisk ability. The Frisk ability enables you to really scout for your opponent. And in the league format, that's
crucial. Yeah, because that was the point I wanted to make was Frisk. Just unveiling what your opponent's item is can be so incredibly useful when it comes to just figuring out what their set is going to be. Because a lot of times the item will kind of showcase a little bit about what the set is going to be, and especially coming down to the wire towards playoffs and things like that. That is very, very important. So here we are looking at round 7. There was a couple big standout picks. I mean, one of the first ones, obviously, Sawsbuck. Big surprise there from Steve grabbing Sawsbuck. A little also surprised to see Gorbis, but I could totally see why, because Smash Pass is a thing. Miguel, what are your thoughts on round 7 here?
Well, I'm going to have to... my favorite pick this round, I think a very efficient pick considering the team, is actually Dragalge. I really like it. I do want to give a special mention, though, shout out to Mega Pidgeot and Emboar. I'm also a huge fan of those 2 picks, but Dragalge really stands out for me because I have experience with that Pokemon, and I know how good it is paired with the likes of Altaria and Ferrothorn. It's a very difficult wall to crack, and it's also what I really like about those Mons, especially Dragalge, is that it's a very reliable response to a lot of things. At the same time, it hits back hard, and not a lot of walls claim that. Yes, not a lot of walls. Yeah. Exactly, not many walls can claim that. They can do that. So that's my favorite pick, personally.
Awesome. Well,
I gotta ask you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is your less favorite pick?
My least favorite pick this round? I gotta go with Sawsbuck. I mean, we know Battler X is trying to bounce back, take over Steve's team here and make the Milwaukee Sawsbuck something special. I respect the mascot pick, I really do, but it's a Sawsbuck, man. I mean, I know it gets high jump kick, just regular jump kick actually. I know it gets that, and I know it has Horn Leech, and I know it gets Sap Sipper, but it's a Sawsbuck. So, Steve, Battler X, prove me wrong, and we'll see what happens.
I think everybody wants Sawsbuck to do well in reality, but we'll see.
One other pick I really want to point out here is Old Man Tup in the Pittsburgh Piratas Mega Pidgeot. Yeah. I fully expect that thing to be a lot. I will tell you this. I'm willing to bet on this one that Mega Pidgeot will not be Tier 3 next season. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, that's a big statement.
There's no way. It is definitely getting moved up from Tier 3 next season because.
I mean, Emboar is a good example of that. Like Emboar, when I was using it last season, I was like, how is this thing Tier 4? So maybe that's what happens when Pokemon that are not really that popular, they just flow on the radar. They really shine, and I think Mega Pidgeot could do that because it has 121 speed, man.
Yeah, it does. And those Hurricanes, like I said, that 30% confusion chance is really useful, and it could come in clutch for Old Man Tup here. So I think it's time for us to hop into round 8. Tom, if you're here, are you ready to rock and roll for round 8, my friend?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's hear it. What is your next pick after grabbing Noivern? What are you going for here for the San Jose Sharpedos?
So this pick's going to be a little bit of a risk. I noticed quite a few teams have already picked up their Megas. So this round, I'm looking at a Mega. But this one is kind of a risk. It's not something I necessarily have used before or a lot of people have seen before in this format, especially the GBA. But this Sharpedos will be picking Mega Aerodactyl.
Wow. So
I love it.
Miguel, I know you love Mega Aerodactyl, so just go for it.
I love this. Mega Aerodactyl. was actually my second option for drafting. Like, I chose Mega Blastoise because I really wanted that bulky water and that Rapid Spinner, which I lacked. And I have certain plans that I can't reveal just yet, but, you know, I think they'll make sense if they come to fruition, of course. But I love Mega Aerodactyl because it's so fast and it's exceptional in this format. It can Pursuit Trap, which is Tough Claws boosted, by the way. It has such good coverage. And like I said, did I say how fast this thing is? This thing is stupid fast.
Nothing
Like-
outspeeds it after Mega Evolution aside from boosted
Except-
Pokemon. Right?
Except for Mega Alakazam, which speed ties with it, by the way.
That's
Speed
insane.
ties with
Oh
it.
my goodness, Lord Envy. That's a snipe on me, a
What?
Pokemon that I was looking at. Wobbuffet, which is Shadow Tag Wobbuffet in Tier 4. Obviously, this thing has very, very few options in terms of moves, really only running Counter, Mirror Code, Destiny Bond, and Encore, and I guess Charm. But Wobbuffet coming through, I don't know if this has ever been drafted, but you know well, Miguel, you drafted Gothitelle. Do you think this Pokemon's going to be effective as a Shadow Tag user in the GBA? I personally think it's going to end up being phenomenal.
It's pretty terrifying when you see a Gourgeist and a Haxorus on that team. That's pretty much... And the Keldeo, and the Gyarados. Like, God, that is scary. That is very scary.
Yeah, I
Bring
can
your
tell.
Pursuit Trappers, ladies and gentlemen. Bring them. Bring them
Yeah,
all.
that's really scary. Sam is here. Sam, if you're here to talk, you can tell us a little bit about Kecleon if you're available. I don't know if Sam is in here. It looks like he is. Sam, tell us about Kecleon.
Hello. Wow, Kecleon is a pretty amazing Pokemon in Draft League, in my opinion. Just because it gets stabbed on all of its moves, it's amazing for prep. I think it's really cool because you can use the coverage that you need, and it gets that extra power that it needs. It's only got base 90 attack, but I think you can use that definitely to your advantage. And it's got loads of cool utility options as well, with reliable recovery. So
Yeah,
I think it's an
priority.
awesome Pokemon. And priority. Lots of priority,
stealth.
yeah.
Stealth Rocks too.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that this is kind of utility, but I love the fact that you can run Shadow Sneak on it to avoid and act as a spin blocker, essentially, which I think is another cool asset to Kecleon here. And now I see the Philadelphia Scissors and Coach Chimpack really start to make a lot of sense here. Politoed, which is going to pair very nicely with
called
that
this.
Rain
You called
Dish
this.
Blastoise
Oh, man.
and Swift Swim Kingdra. This team is looking a lot scarier, man. Politoed and the Rain team coming into full fruition here.
I think now that you look at it, it's pretty obvious.
I mean, Tornadus team with Hurricane too, 100% accurate
Tornadus team
Hurricanes.
Blastoise with Rain Dish and Kingdra. Oh my lord.
He definitely had a
Oh,
long-term
my
plan
Lord.
here in this draft, and we might not have noticed it right away, and we made a little bit of harsh judgment on some of his earlier picks, but now it's starting to make a lot of sense, and I think one of the key factors here is, well, anytime you're running weather in a format like this, if that's the only thing your team can do, it's not going to be effective. But in this case, I think Chimpack does have enough versatility on his draft to really make that work out really well.
Yeah, what I also like about it is that it's not a full Rain team. You know, it's not
Exactly.
completely that. So I like that about it.
Yeah, so here we go with one of the few Rapid Spinners left, jumping all the way down to Tier 5. Cooper is going to grab Claydol. Cooper, tell us about Claydol.
Now, pretty much everyone in this league thinks that Claydol is hot garbage. I disagree. I think it's only lukewarm garbage. So this is my backup spinner after Fortress got picked, and objectively, it's the spinner least bothered by hazards. It's immune to most of them and resists Stealth Rock, which I think Flygon is the only other hazard mover that can say that. I don't really expect it to do, too much. It is a Tier 5 after all. But it's a spinner. I wanted to have some sort of spinner, and I think it'll do what I want it to do, and that's all I really expect it to do.
Cool. I like it. I like Claydol. I'm curious to see how it functions this season. I think a lot of times people look down upon Claydol simply because it can be a bit of a,
Speaking of Flygon.
Yeah, right? Speaking of Flygon, it can end up being a little bit of, kind of setup bait. But I had to, man. I had to. Call me Daenerys Targaryen's brother here. Not the weird guy, though, from the show. I'm not, creepy like that guy. But I got 3 dragons, baby! I got 3 dragons! Flygon, Mega Altaria, Dragalge. I love Flygon, man. This thing gets defog. This thing is great. Talk about entry hazard removal and being able to switch in on entry hazards. This thing is phenomenal. Not to mention a good attack stat, being able to drop some Dracos, and I just love me some Flygon, man. I do.
What I like the most about Flygon, and the reason this was actually on my radar before I picked Goodra. The reason I like Flygon is because of what Cooper mentioned earlier, that resistance to rocks and immunity to spikes for a defogger. I love that. I love that.
Great.
It's
And I love the fact that it can just like my Hitmon top pick, get rid of those, entry hazards to kind of open the door for Victini.
Yes,
And I just love that it gets U-turn as well.
U-turn, yes.
Yeah, George coming through here. Kind of a surprise pick to see Magneton go, but this is a good Pokemon here. Magneton, another one of those steel trapping Pokemon with Magnet Pull. Analytic, can be a Scarf user, can even be Eviolite. What do you think about Magneton, Miguel?
I think Magneton is exceptional. The ability to trap a Pokemon and eliminate it specifically really hinders your opponent's team building. And I think George is really going to capitalize on this. There's going to be specific matchups. Be careful with your Ferrothorn, with which he's going to, try to abuse this Pokemon. And it has nice speed on top of that. So I like it. I like it a lot.
All right, Fizzy Stardust coming in here with the next pick, Zoroark. A very, very interesting Pokemon in the fact that it can disguise itself as any other Pokemon on his team. You might call him John Cena, you might call him Zoroark, but nevertheless, this thing is a monster, rocking an impressive base 105 speed stat. Great stats on both the physical and special side from an attacking perspective. It gets fairy coverage now, or Sludge Bomb to hit those fairy types, and of course U-turn, knockoff, Dark Pulse, and many more. Nasty Plot, Flamethrower. The list goes on, Miguel.
Yeah, no, this Pokemon, it's everything that you said, basically. Like, it's really, really difficult to prepare for. Like, it's a little bit, it gets in your head, because if you see it in team preview, you're gonna be like, oh god, what is he? Because there's so many different things that you can pull off that we haven't seen in a league format yet with this Pokemon, that I'm really excited to see it used properly. I'm very pumped.
Yeah, our next pick coming through here, El Scissor grabbing a Pokemon that was on the semifinalist team last season, Crawdaunt. Lars, if you're here, tell us about why you decided to go with Crawdaunt. I think it's a great pick, man. I don't know if you're here to talk to us. He is. All right, Lars, tell us about Crawdaunt.
I'm here. Like, the air was getting pretty thin on tier 2. I had to get tier 2 at some point, and Crawdaunt was still on the board, so I just had to pick it. It was my favorite, which is still left there. I got the Pinsir squad now with Crawdaunt and the Scissor. And with Landorus and the Premier Wall Breaker, why not add another one? So there are actually no walls in my way to victory. Adaptability Knockoff, Adaptability Crab Hammer.
I like that logic.
Yeah, there's no walls in the way, and nothing wants to take that priority. Aqua Jet coming off that adaptability ability, which of course not only makes your attacks way stronger, but just makes your opponent hate life. And Miguel grabbing a very interesting tier 5. Miguel, you need to explain this one.
This was not improvised. This was my plan from the very beginning, was to get this Pokemon. I hope I can get my reasoning going here. Basically, I wanted speed to complement Weavile. I wanted a fast electric type, but Jolteon, Heliolisk, Mega Manectric, all of those are going to be very highly contested, and they're also very expensive. So I looked at tier 5 and I saw this hidden gem, which is very, very cheap to obtain, and it's faster than most electric types, and has 2 very powerful immunities. Not that strong offensively, but I can, make it work with those stats, and I'm very excited about this pick. I think, I've been wanting to draft this Pokemon for the League format in a while. I think it is really good.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things to kind of emphasize here, guys, is over, 5 seasons of the GBA now, we've seen very, very, specific roles filled that are always effective.
Raikou is tier 1, by the way. Raikou's tier 1, and it's very expensive.
Exactly. So we know fast electric types are effective in this format, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how Zebstrika, works for you. Now, we see tier 5 Granbull, one of the best tier 5s available, in my opinion, and probably one of the last fairies left, aside from maybe Slurpuff, I think, and Mr. Mime and Deden. But Granbull's going to come in here being a great Pokemon with that Intimidate ability, slowing things down, great attack stat. You don't even have to invest in it. Earthquake and Play Rough, Thunder Wave, it can do a lot of different things. I love Granbull, and I think it's definitely worth tier 5.
I like it too a lot, because the thing with Granbull is that you can actually, the best set in my opinion is the defensive set, because with Intimidate and with its typing, it's actually really bulky, but I also really like the offensive set too. It can throw people off as well. So I think it's a phenomenal pick.
Definitely can. I love this pick coming in here from tier 4. We've got Drapion. Great Pokemon to set up Toxic Spikes. Great typing, only being weak to ground type, I believe. I love Drapion. It can be a Swords Dance setter, and one of the things that I love the most about Drapion is the fact that it's got a great natural speed stat at 95, I believe, and it gets Taunt.
Yeah, and Toxic Spikes. I love Toxic Spikes on this thing. It's actually really bulky, very respectably fast, and I love the Dark Poison typing, because you only gotta worry about Earthquakes, which you can really see a mile away, and he's got a nice switch into that with Skarmory, so
he's got a great switch
I like
with Skarmory, yeah. So I love this, and I think it'll pair nicely, getting up those T-Spikes to allow his wall breakers like Huron Black to really shine. Geo and the San Francisco Giants. He's got
Finally, some speed and power.
one of the best teams here, grabbing a tier 5, I believe, pick in Mismagius. I love Mismagius, base 105 speed. What do you think about it?
I love that he's actually picked something that is not, like, doesn't take forever to kill. I appreciate that. And I think it fits his team really well. It gives him a ghost type, which he does have hazard stacking potential because Chestnut does have access to spikes. So he has a spin blocker, a good offensive mon that can nasty plot, which is what separates it from Gengar, even though Gengar is superior. It does have something that Gengar doesn't, and that is nasty plot. It can set up a sub and nasty plot. It has access to power gem, like a lot of very interesting coverage options. So I like Mismagius. I've used her in season 3, and I was very happy with her. I like Mismagius.
Cool. I like this pick. I don't know if Gubs is available. Gubs, if you want to hop on and talk about Lantern for tier 5 here, go for it.
Yeah, Lantern is a pick that I think in tier 5 is kind of what you're looking for. You're not looking for necessarily a mon that's going to carry a bulk of your team's load. You're more so just looking for something that's plug and play in certain matchups. And with 2 immunities, excuse me, that makes Lantern very viable in that role. Being able to throw it in if I have a weakness to Scald in a particular matchup, which my team is pretty exposed to at this point in the draft. It's just overall really good. Has a lot of utility moves and a slow volt switch, which to me was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Remember what I said about the ice weakness? I think that's long.
Yeah,
done.
we've since patched that up.
That's
Embor, Bronzong, Azu, and Lantern say, forget that ice weakness. Old Man Tup's going to come in here with another interesting pick as we're starting to get towards the depth of the draft. You're going to see some really cool picks coming through here. Liepard, a very fast prankster user. I can see this thing actually put in some work. And do not sleep on Life Orb Stab knockoff because this thing actually can hit pretty hard. I think Tup's here to talk about Liepard.
Yeah, Liepard was just a pick to fill in some holes. My team isn't exactly the fastest. Like you mentioned, it has Prankster T-Wave. It's got Prankster Taunt, Encore. It's got a really depth in the move pool that it can be used that really sets it apart. It has U-Turn, Sucker Punch knockoff. I played in the PPL in the off-season, and one of the coaches, Evelyn there, got to using it really well, and it really turned me on to it. Not to mention my team has a little bit of a psychic weakness at this point.
All right.
I like it a lot.
Me too. Battler X going to grab one of the few rapid spinners again. Jumping deep into tier 4 here. Actually, you know, it was used last season on a playoff team, the Borussia Dawn fan. Sandslash, actually a pretty decent physically defensive Pokemon. It does get access to knockoff, of course, Earthquake, Toxic, things like that, Stealth Rock, and it can rapid spin. It's just a little slow and lax on the special side, but I actually really like Sandslash. This is what you would have
had to pick up, Dan, if you didn't get that him on top earlier.
Yeah, this is it.
This is how the rapid spin pool is now.
Yeah, he needed this rapid spinner because he has no hazard remover to help that Mega Pinsir out. So I see still, even with Sandslash, a little bit of a weakness on his team here. 2 hazards, of course. So that is something we're going to have to keep an eye out here as we close towards the final couple rounds. Miguel, what do you think about this round 8 here? Some really interesting picks. You see Mega Aerodactyl. Of course, Wobbuffet, I think, was the one that stunned everyone. You know, that Pokemon, I think, is going to be very, very effective this season. And, you know, because of the different draft strategies, you know, some of these higher tier Pokemon are still sitting there. I mean, I'm going to look right now on Dallas's document. I mean, you still got Hydreigon and Conkeldurr, Dragonite and Raikou, all Talonflame. All these Pokemon are still available. So very interesting to see how things are going to, you know, kind of work out.
Something I want to point out about this round is that obviously my favorite pick is clearly Mega Aerodactyl. I think Tom really nailed it with that one. I'm a huge fan of that Pokemon, and I'm also a little bit scared to face it because all your opponent needs to do is to really weaken your cores to just have that thing come in and clean up everything. And it's actually pretty decently bulked too. So I like that a lot. But I also, you know, for once, I'm gonna get myself a pat in the back. I mean, I think you know, I want to. I feel
you're confident in your Zebstrika pick.
Yeah, and I like my Zebstrika pick. I think it's actually really good, and it's actually one of my best picks because it grants me a fast electric type that can compete with others, which are higher tier. And for a tier 5 pick, I got a Pokemon that I see myself using a lot this season. So that whenever you come to that conclusion with one of your picks, like one of your lower tier picks, you should feel happy about it. And I feel happy about Substrika, personally.
That's true. That is true. I like all the reasons you cited there. A lot of really cool picks this round, and this is probably one of my favorite parts of the draft as we end towards the last couple rounds here, 9, 10, and 11, and you really start to see the teams start to form and start to get an idea for how well these teams are going to perform just on paper, obviously. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see the next couple rounds here. But before we jump into round 9, guys, just a reminder: !GBA shirt in the chat will take you to our new partner shirt store by Onash, where you can grab any shirt from any of the 16 teams, including our new coaches. Some of these shirts are available for the first time ever in the GBA, so get excited for that and definitely go check those out, guys. I believe the code GBA15 will save you 50% on your order, 15% on your order, sorry, if you go to the store right now and use that code, so definitely try to do that. And of course, !draft in the chat will give you a link to our draft document, which is being updated live by Dallas Star. You make sure you take that document by typing !draft, save it to your favorites, because that is going to be updated weekly, and that will be our official fan document for the GBA, so you guys can see the GBA, track the stats, follow your favorite team, and get excited for the GBA Season 6, which is lining up to be most certainly the best season we've ever had.
Yeah, I agree. The competition is nuts, and it'll be really interesting to see who takes the lead in the beginning, because there's gonna be some key matchups that I just do not know who's gonna take it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the competition has been stepped up quite a bit. I think the league is more challenging and more competitive than ever before, so it is going to be very exciting to see how things go. But I think we're just about ready to rock and jump into round 9. Battler X just picked up Sandslash. He's got that Mega Pincer. Will he grab some more hazard removal? Round 9 starts off, and he's going to grab the Fighting Type monster out of Tier 4, Hariyama, Miguel.
Oh, now this is interesting, because he already has a Fighting Type on his roster in Mienshao. But Hariyama does serve a different role as a fighting type. It's actually completely different than Mienshao. It tends to run Assault Vest, or it just tends to be overall more bulky. Take a hit and then deliver, hit back harder. As Mienshao is more of a, if I get flicked, I'm gonna die, so I may as well kill you before that.
Yeah,
so they're both very different. I like it. I'm not sure what options he had, but I like it.
I like Hariyama as a status absorber. That's one of my favorite things. Being able to take Will-O-Wisp and stuff like that.
Nice. Yes.
Still a little bit surprised. I'm really looking for him to take some better hazard removal, as he only has Sandslash.
Yeah.
But that's the problem at this point in the draft. There's not many options left. But Battler X is a very interesting team here. Old Man Tup in the Pittsburgh Pie. Rattatas coming in here, grabbing Tier 4 Frostlass as his second to last pick. Tup, tell us about Frostlass.
Another thing to add to the team, just to give me a little bit of speed and increase my lead options, which is something I really struggled with last season. Half the Pokemon on my team are viable leads this year, and it completes my access to all of the damaging hazard stacking. It gives me access to spikes, a really fast Destiny Bond as an emergency button to threats that I might not be able to handle otherwise. And Ghost Ice typing offensively is just so good in this format.
I like that combination of attacks, and I like that speed that this Pokemon possesses. Like you said, I think it also gives you spikes and hazard stacking and a spin blocker on top of that. So I like that.
All right, Gubs coming in here for the Arizona Deoxys. I'm a big fan of this pick. I don't know if Gubs is here to talk about it. I'd be very interested to hear his thoughts on Porygon Z. Gubs, tell us about Porygon Z.
Yeah, well, when you look at Porygon Z, of course, the main thing that stands out is adaptability with the 135 base special attacks. That's kind of like its bread and butter. But you also look at the two other abilities, which I think are very good and very very interchangeable. You have download and analytic. Excuse me. Analytic I like a lot on this mon, actually, because it is a normal type. It only has that one weakness to fighting, so it's not going to be getting hit too hard by moves coming off of more utility mons and bulky mons. So I think if I force switches with this, get an analytic hit off, this mon is going to really complement the power that I already have existing on my team.
You already have a lot of power, though.
Yeah, right? There's definitely a lot of power here. I think this pick here was pretty predictable. Gym Leader Geo grabbing one of his favorites from last season almost knocked me out of the playoff race entirely. Ditto, aka Remix here, very, very good Pokemon in this format in my opinion. Having the ability to effectively stop your opponent in the planning stages alone from using setup sweepers. Ditto is just a huge issue for teams to prep for. How big of an impact do you think Ditto can have this season, Miguel?
Well, I was always like during the first time Dio drafted, he's always had Remix on his roster. See, every single season.
3 in a row, yeah, 3 years in a row.
Yes. So first time he did it, I was very skeptical about it. I was like, I'm not sure because I never used it myself. Fun fact, I never tried this Pokemon. But as seasons pass by, he's using it really well, and it's actually really scary how well he uses it. So. Not surprised there. Not surprised
Yeah,
there.
it's a good Pokemon. I'm excited to see him do it again for the 3rd season. Maybe someone else will use it next season. The Boston Red Sox are going to grab Pangoro, previously undrafted Pokemon. I love this pick. I think Pangoro can be absolutely phenomenal. In a league where only half the teams pretty much have a good, reliable Fairy type, I think Pangoro could put in some work here.
I definitely think so too. I love Parting Shot as a mechanic. I'm a big fan of it. And Pangoro actually has exceptional coverage with access to Gunk Shot and tremendous power too. And I definitely see this Pokemon working quite well on his team. And he kind of needed that powerful fighting type. So I think this is one of his options. So I can definitely see why he took this. And I think it's going to put in the work.
Yeah, the New Orleans Pelipper's coming through. John grabbing Rotom Cut or Rotom Mow form here. Very, very interesting Pokemon. Great pick for the lower tiers to give you that decently fast electric type at 86 base speed. Obviously, Leaf Storm isn't as good as like a Hydro Pump would be on Rotom Wash, but Rotom Cut could put in some work, especially having that ground immunity, access to Will-O-Wisp, and just some general shenanigans.
I like the synergy with Gastrodon, and I like the Volt Switch mechanics, and I think Rotom, any form of Rotom is going to be decent, and it's going to put in the work. So I think this was a very safe pick for him to make, and one that's not going to let him down, I feel.
Yeah, I really like Rotom. I think, like you said, any form of Rotom can be used effectively in this format. It's just such a good Pokemon in general. So it looks like you're going to take a page out of my book for once here, grabbing Golurk.
Yeah. I needed a ground type, like I stated previously. I needed a Pokemon that could tank Electric Case. Even though I don't have Assassin Strika, I feel more comfortable having a ground type. It also grants me a Ghost type as well, which is great for hazard stacking strategies. And Golurk is actually really strong offensively. The only problem with it is his speed. But if I can capitalize on certain matchups, I feel like I can really get some strong use out of Golurk because I love his 2 abilities. I love the No Guard with Dynamic Punch, even if it's not stab, and I love the Iron Fist as well. So I think this Pokemon is gonna, put in the work for me, and that's what I was searching for Tier 5. A reliable Tier 5, basically.
It is a good Tier 5. The Stealth Rocks and the No Guard, allowing it to hit those Dynamic Punches and Stone Edges and just utility in general. Really, really cool. All right, I think we got Lars coming through here, grabbing another one of those fast electric types. Again, a value pick similar to your Zebstrika. Lars, tell us about your decision to grab Electabuzz.
Ooh. Yeah, many are probably confused because Electivire is still on the board, but Electabuzz actually is faster than Electivire, and if you look at my team, I desperately need some speed on my team. My fastest one so far was Landoi, and Electric type is always nice. And of course, with the Violite, I can give this thing some bulk with static. Some static Paras are always nice, and yeah, 105 speed, definitely a fine speed here for a low tier mon like Electabuzz.
Yeah, I want to just point out, because there's some questions in the chat about why are you drafting Electabuzz? Why are some of these Pokemon going? You have to understand we have a specific tier structure, guys, that forces us to grab Pokemon from all over the spectrum. So not every Pokemon is going to be the biggest heavy hitter, especially with 16 teams and 11 rounds of picking. So you are going to see some of these unique Pokemon being used in the format, and I think that's what makes this format the best, right? It is. And
that's
actually,
why we love it.
There you go.
GBA. That's why the League format is by far the best format.
Exactly.
That is a fact.
I think Lars inspired Fizz here because he's going to not be able to grab Electabuzz. He's going to grab Electivire, and they're going to go back to back the 2 little brothers here, which I think is kind of funny. Evire on paper, first of all, I love its design, but on paper, it looks like it's such a great Pokemon, but its speed stat is really what lets it down. It does have Motor Drive, though, which is kind of cool, kind of helping out with one of Volcanion's weaknesses to Electric type, allowing this thing to switch in, make up for that lack of a speed stat, and absolutely destroy some souls with a pretty good, attack stat and a decent special attack stat. The San Francisco Arcaniners, after having Mecha Lopunny last season, are going to try their hand at a Pokemon that was previously undrafted last season. E is going to go for Mega Beedrill, Miguel.
Wow, okay, so I probably have said it like a lot of times today. I expected this. I did not expect this. My God, I don't even know what to say.
Mega Beedrill is really, really cool.
It's really fast. Adaptability is nuts, and it's actually, you know, hits, like I said, it's really efficient. I'm just not sure how it fits his team. I mean, George must have had a reasoning for picking it, and I really like this Pokemon, don't get me wrong. I'm just really curious to see like the reasoning behind like George picking this. Really curious.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out. I mean, obviously, it does have to run like protected stuff a lot of the time, but my pick coming through the New York Metapods, of course. I'm grabbing Medicham, man. I think this Pokemon is one of the secret gems in the format. I think it, you know, despite its 80 base speed, it does have Fake Out and Bullet Punch for priority, and it does have that pure power ability, making it one of the strongest Pokemon in the format. I love
what
this
is his
Pokemon.
attack stat?
It's base 60, but with pure power that puts it, I think.
Power, yeah, that's
I think it's
higher than
170. I think is equivalent 170 or 180 base power, something like that.
That's higher than
So-
a Azumarill.
Yeah, Azumarill is 50, and then it goes to 150 base power.
Yeah,
So I think this ends up
this
being
thing
like
is like a
170.
nuke.
This thing
This
is
thing is fucking
nuts. This is one of those Pokemon, like we said earlier. Choice
I
Scarf,
think,
high
I think
jump
this
kick,
gets shine a lot as a Scarfer, actually.
and I love this synergy with Galvantula.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, my lord.
And the
Oh,
Utah
that's
Jasmine with their mascot pick. This has
Oh!
been the draft of the mascots. Grabbing Aggron. Coop.
Mascot season. Oh,
I mean,
my God.
do I need to explain the boss god?
No. This was the defensive Pokemon of the year
The
last
only
season.
thing is that it's
With
either
its Mega.
I only have 2 picks left.
I have a
I've
question
now
for you,
one pick
Cooper.
left.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Are you going to head smash somebody?
A couple of times, yeah.
So
Yeah,
scared.
okay, good.
I want to go and get it now so that Tom can't like take it so that it can't be used against him. So that's why I'm taking it this round.
I love it. I love Aggron. It's going to be interesting to see how it's used this season. Obviously not as good as its Mega counterpart, but still an effective
I
Pokemon in
disagree.
Tier 4. Well, Cooper disagrees, but that's
I
okay.
ain't got no stab hit smash.
Stab Head Smash is pretty scary,
Much less
guys.
Life Orb.
Chimpad grabbing a great pick here in Tier 3, a Pokemon that has kind of been shoved to the side for its Mega form, which is not allowed in our draft, but regular Metagross is, however. I love this Pokemon as a potential Stealth Rocker, priority against Fairies with that Bullet Punch, and just great coverage options all across.
Yeah, it's actually really strong Pokemon. It has access to Stealth Rocks and, like you said, stat priority, very good coverage, and overall like a very useful ability as well in Clear Body. With Clear Body, you can counter. Well, watch out for the Sticky Web. Yeah, this thing will ignore it. It will ignore Intimidate. So I think Metagross is actually a pretty decent Pokemon, and it's gonna give it some bulk and power, which is nice.
Yeah, I like it. I do like Metagross, and I think it does have, again, as a Stealth Rock setter, and just it's one of the prime Mega Deontay counters. So, wow, we need to get Sam on the call here. Sam,
Oh!
breaking the game, Mega Banette.
Oh,
Mega
this
Banette.
is gonna go crazy. Oh my god, the chat.
Yeah, this is kind of something that I've been wanting to try out for quite a while. Obviously, it's a bit left field, but it's Tier 4 Mega, which gives me so many extra points that I'm able to afford another Tier 1 for my final pick. But not only that, I think it's a great value Pokemon. It's got a huge attack stat, Prankster, and so many utility and tricksy options. I think it's incredible, and I can't wait to use it.
The chat is going nuts.
I personally, I do want to back up Sam's pick here, guys. I know Mega Banette seems to be a little bit out in left field, but I personally think it could be very effective in the Draft League format, having such an incredible wide move pool. Even things like Gunk Shot. It does have an incredible base 165 attack stat. Do not forget that Sucker Punch, Knockoff, Shadow Sneak, Cotton Guard, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond. What are you going to do about that, Prankster? Envy and the San Diego Chimp Chargers coming through with their next pick, grabbing one of the last fairy types left. Surprising, it went this long. Slurpuff.
Yeah, it's actually a really scary sweeper. Really, because when you have a very powerful setup sweeper that actually is very obvious at what it does, but it still gets the job done in standard play, then that automatically turns it into a little bit of a threat for League format as well. Even if you see this thing coming, it's also kind of like, is he really gonna bring Slurpuff against me? You know, you can disregard it easily, and that could lead to very bad things. So I
Yeah,
like this
clicks
pick.
Belly Drum, gets that Citrus Berry boost
Yeah.
on the Emburden. All of a sudden, it's got +6 attack, double
Plus
speed,
Wobbuffet.
and it just destroys your soul. And Wobbuffet is there, and Tom
But
decided to go with the Machampion. Tom, tell us about Machamp.
Sorry, I'm a little rattled from that Aggron pick. I don't know. I'm going to deal with that internally. But Machamp, you guys said that Zoroark was the John Cena. This is the real John Cena. So excited for Machamp. So powerful. Dynamic punches every day. I can't wait.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this. Obviously, one of my favorite fighting Pokemon. So
You can't sleep on the fact that it does get guts as well as a status absorber, making it even more useful in the draft league format. It's going to be interesting to see how Tom utilizes Machamp this season as Old Man Tup. Didn't seem to like it last season, but here we are, the conclusion for round 9 with just 2 rounds left, guys. I want to see some hype in the chat, in the GBA chat here, guys. Show some love for the teams. Let us know what team you are rooting for right now. Let's see who could take over. Who do you think is winning the draft right now? Miguel, what is your favorite pick for round 9?
Well, it may not be necessarily the best, but it's my favorite, and I think a huge portion of the chat can agree with this, and that is Mega Banette. I actually did not get a chance to really talk much about this pick because, time and things, but I really like this Pokemon. I've actually used this Pokemon quite a while back in OU as an offensive threat because it has access to Gunk Shot, and that actually leads to very strong coverage options. And the Prankster Destiny Bond, like you can have a 3-attack Mon with Destiny Bond, and all of a sudden you have a very powerful wall breaker that can actually take down a setup sweeper at the same time. Like it can perform different roles in a single match, basically. And I think that Mega Banette is definitely very underrated. And it also gives, like I said, Fufu a lot of breathing room for his next peak. He can actually force, I was not expecting him to be able to afford a tier 1, which is a little bit scary.
And that's another thing too, guys, to emphasize is the fact that because the way the point system works, someone like Sam grabs a Mega Banette, which gives him so many extra points to throw into his free point total, allowing him to grab a better Pokemon. So rather than getting, a top tier Mega and a not so high ranked Pokemon, he can grab a Mega that he thinks could be very useful, and then another Pokemon that ends up being like way more valuable than something otherwise that he would get. So there is a lot of strategy going into the GBA draft, and that's why we've structured it this way to not only encourage diversity with the picks, forcing us to draft in different tiers and various Pokemon across the Pokemon competitive spectrum, but also allow the coaches to be very, very creative with how they draft, how they utilize their free points, and how their team gets built throughout the entire process, making the GBA, in my opinion, the best way to play competitive Pokemon. So, I think it is time, man. I think it is time. Tom has our wheel pick here, and he is going to be ending the draft here in just a few more rounds, but we're not quite there yet, Tom. Tell us about your round 10 pick and what your thoughts are moving forward here as we close towards the conclusion of the GBA Season 6 draft.
So this pick is a little bit more of a test, something that I haven't seen people draft before. Certainly very utility type Mon. It's definitely a means of me getting rid of hazards outside of just Starmie. So with that being said, I'm going to select Xatu, something that is a little weird at first glance. I mean, I'm not sure it has the most like a solid rep in the GBA, but it's not something to be, just go, oh, it's not that good. Like, it has Magic Bounce, U-turn, I can get out, I can defog, so many things I can do with it. I hope it actually serves me well.
All right, well, I like Xatu. I think it's a really cool Pokemon. It does have the ability to run dual screens, which I think is cool, too. I'm always a big fan of dual screen users, and this one being immune to any sort of, Toxic or Willow or any of that stuff. And you can run Colbur on it to take those knockoffs, which is really its biggest kind of issue is the Colburs. And it just forces your opponent to not being able to set up those Stealth Rocks. You have to hesitate because you're like,
I think I think Arcanine, Mega Redactyl, and Noivern are really going to appreciate this Pokemon. And this Pokemon, its mere presence on the roster is going to play a lot of mind games for Bill.
Doesn't Mega Aerodactyl get defog as well, or no?
Yes, it does.
So there's another hazard removal. Envy is going to round out his draft here, obviously, because he franchised. You're going to see some of the teams actually come to their completion here in round 10 because of their franchise picks, and Envy is going to grab Sneasel. I think Envy surprised a lot of people with his team this season. Definitely a very, very good lineup, and I think Sneasel is a great pick for his last pick overall.
I see you, Mr. What's Poppin', though. Getting the poor man's Weavile. All right. Well, when we face, let's see who low kicks who first.
That's going to be actually funny. Obviously, Sneasel with a base 115 speed stat, I believe, has a decent attack stat boosted by Life Orb, allowing it to hit relatively hard. It does still maintain that priority with Ice Shard, Knockoff, Icicle Crash, Low Kick. It gets quite a bit of options there, and just in general, this thing actually can serve to be pretty effective. I've even seen the man Joey Pokegame himself run counter with Focus Sash on there. And Sam, I know you want to jump on here.
There's a tier 1.
Grabbing Mega Banette allows Sam to grab a tier 1 now, and he is going to grab Dragonite.
Yeah, a big last pick. I thought it was great. And what I wanted to do with this pick is not shy away from something people are scared of, drafting something that I actually have one of already, which is a very powerful Dragon Wall Breaker. But now I have Dragon Spam, and I think I've got the team. You guys have been calling it a troll team. It's just a very utility and support heavy team. Which is
I don't think it's a troll team at all. I think your team is very
I'm really afraid of the hazard stacking with like Choice Band and Dragonite and stuff like that. That's really powerful. Really powerful. I like that. I like that pick.
And you do have great options to keep hazards off the field with Mew and Crobat allowing you to keep those, like I said, those Stealth Rocks off, preserving that Mold Breaker, Marvel Scale, I believe, or Multi-Scale, allowing that Dragonite to set up those Dragon Dances and put in some work. And Chimpat is going to pick his last Pokemon for the draft. It is going to be Steelix, a Pokemon that I've actually used in a different league right now, and this Pokemon is actually significantly better than I thought it was going to be. Just its bulk alone from the physical side, it does have some offensive options with Sheer Force, boosting its attacks. Stealth Rock and Sturdy is very nice with that Custap Berry. What do you think about Steelix, Miguel?
I actually really like this Pokemon. I think it's actually a little bit underrated, and I think it's really shining in the league format. I think it shares the same typing as Excadrill, which it does have some key weaknesses, but it also has so many resistances. And its physical bulk is over the top. So I feel like this Pokemon, with abilities like Sheer Force and such, and access to Stealth Rocks, I feel like it's going to do him well, and I think he's going to use it properly.
And ground types are just so important in the format to stop against those Volt Switchers, even though he did, I believe, have Ampharos, if I'm thinking about the right team here. So you got Cooper and the Utah Jasmine coming through. Actually, his last round pick here, a very, very good physically defensive Pokemon here, Weezing, but you can't sleep on its specially offensive presence as well. Cooper, tell us about Weezing.
All right, so for my this extra tier 5, I was thinking about something maybe like a beater like Zangoose, but I already have Staraptors, so I decided I'm probably okay on walls, but why not throw one more on there, especially one with Levitate when you've got
That's the Cooper way.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think I have no other psychic weaknesses on the team, which is the only thing Weezing is weak to. I've got 2 immunes and 4 resists. So makes up for the weaknesses on the team, and Psychic, is anyone really going to bring that when I've got the rest of my team?
Come on, man!
No. So I have to clarify here. This Pokemon I had in Season 4 before you grabbed it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So don't try to tell me I'm copying you.
I'm still mad.
I love Gourgeist. It's actually, I picked this Pokemon as more of a fun pick more than, for the cohesion of my draft, but I really like it. It gives me a Ghost type, which allows me to kind of spin block, which is something I lacked otherwise. I think that's its greatest utility here, is being a spin blocker, but I really like the fact that Gourgeist actually can run multiple different forms and change its stat total to accommodate those forms. Miguel, what do you think about this pick? Do you think it's going to be effective for me?
I was super happy with Gourgeist last season. It worked out really well for me. Was very key in certain matchups, and I actually misplayed with it in my playoffs match. If I had clicked Synthesis instead of Leaf Seed, I would have won. So it's actually, I let Gourgeist down. Don't you let Gourgeist down, Dan. Don't do it.
Hopefully Gourgeist can work for me. I'm actually really excited to use it. I love this pick here. Pokemon previously been undrafted. Sepsal MC is going to grab Simisage here. Very interesting to see. What do you think about Simisage? Kind of a funky pick.
It's very interesting. I'm not completely familiar with this thing's speed. Is it 106?
I don't know.
I think it's something like that. It's I'm not sure exactly how fast it is. It may be something 102 or something like that. I know it's around there, but it does have access to Nasty Plot. It has pretty good utility, and it's an interesting mon, but obviously not the most threatening one out there. And I'm not sure how the tier 5 pool was, but I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how. I know he wanted to grab one of the monkeys.
Oh,
so. Fizz grabbing, and this is why you can't sleep on the later rounds of the draft, because of the way it's 101 base speed. So that's actually pretty effective. Thank you guys in the chat. This is why you can't sleep on the late rounds here. Fizz gonna grab a huge special offensive threat, Gengar, having the points allowing him to grab that. Gengar is obviously a monster with that great special attack and great speed stat. Great spin blocker, has the opportunity. One of my favorite sets in this thing is the sub disable set. I don't know about you, Miguel.
I'm personally a big fan of the Taunt Life Orb 3 attacks set. I also like Sub with Will-O-Wisp. Gengar is just it has exceptional coverage, very good speed, tremendous special attack stat, and a very cool typing that lets it take down a lot of different cores. So very, very top-notch mon, and it's tier 1 for a reason. It's really damn good.
Yeah, and we got the Barusha Dawn fan picking his last Pokemon, going for so many spoons. Talk to us, Lars, about how many spoons you just grabbed.
Hopefully enough. If not, I will probably buy some more. But I grabbed Mega because I need the speed. Like I already said, my fastest mon so far is Electabuzz. So why not draft the fastest mon in the format with a Mega Aerodactyl, to be fair. But this thing hits like a truck. To be fair, it's a glass cannon, but I think I already proved last season that I can deal with Mega Glass Cannons with Mega Absol. So yeah, I just need the speed, I need the power. Mega Absol, I always say Mega Alakazam perfectly fits that role.
Yeah, I like it. It's going to be interesting to see how this Pokemon works. Again, having the ability to switch in on entry hazards is very, very nice, and it just hits incredibly hard with such a great special attack stat. Here you go, man. I knew this was going to be drafted. I think this is a great Pokemon. Talk to us about Primeape, Miguel.
All right, so remember, guys, I'm playing with my free slots, so I have a limited amount of points. So this is my second tier 5, actually, alongside Golurk for my free slots. And it's Primeape, because I need a fighting type, and you guys know I like to hazard stack. So I wanted to have some fun with some Defiant goodness. And I feel like, Primeape is not the fastest, it's pretty frail, but it could be reliable, it could be a decent Scarfer, it could be good with a Choice Band as well. And I'm very excited to use this Pokemon. I think there's specific matchups, having to deal with Intimidate users and such, in which he will shine. And I really feel like it's just everything, like the ability, the typing, and the stats and the cover. It's what I needed, for what I wanted to spend, because my last pick is going to be big.
Yeah, now we see the coffee table being drafted. I told you I didn't want to draft it. The coffee table is here. A rapid spinning Pokemon does have an incredible defense stat. I do want to point out here, I actually don't think Avalugg is that bad, guys. I think Avalugg can be really effective. Its defense is insane, and unless you're hitting it from the special side, this thing actually can put in some work, but it does definitely wants those hazards off the field. It's kind of hard to have a rapid spinner that's weak to Stealth Rocks, but it's going to be interesting to see how Avalugg functions on his team this year.
Yeah, Avalugg actually can take a lot of different hits. Even if they are super effective, he can tank them as long as they're not special. He does have Sturdy, so no one hit can take him out. And access to Rapid Spin and recovery as well. I think John will make use out of it. I'm very excited to see Avalugg because it's actually one of my favorite Gen 6 Pokemon. So
I like it too.
Yeah.
Nick should be here to tell us about Meowstic. Nice thing about this pick is Nick actually gets both female and male Meowstic for his tier 5 pick.
Well, I'm all about value, so I figured, why have 11 Mons when I could have 12? Also, Meowstic gives me a few things I haven't had. I get a Heal Beller at priority. I get dual screeners and T-Wave at priority, so I can have speed control for Kyurem, Darmanitan, for Alligator if I need it, Pangoro. And if Meowstic starts slowing things down or getting screens up, it makes my offense that much better.
That is true. I do love the dual screens. And again, similar to why I picked Gourgeist, you have essentially more than one Mon in that Pokemon because you have the options to kind of switch things around. Tier 4, Regirock coming through here to round out, I think, a fan favorite team here. A very, very powerful team with a lot of bulk. Regirock is a great Stealth Rock setter, and pure Rock types tend to actually do pretty well from an offensive perspective. What do you think about this Regirock pick, Miguel?
I actually think it fits his team pretty well. It gives him a Rock type, a response for birds, because he does have Zapdos, but I feel like it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it does for him, because his team is already like really solid. But it's good to have a Rock type. It's good to have another Stealth Rocker. It's good to have a Pokemon that can take a lot of different hits and speed control the opponent. And that's why I chose Registeel myself. So I like this pick. I think it's pretty solid.
I do like it.
Pun intended.
Kind of like a budget version of Regirock in a way. We've got a Gigalith here in Tier 5.
Oh, wow.
I think Gubbs might be here to tell us about Gigalith. I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts, Gubbs, on why I decided to grab Gigalith, one of the best shinies in the game, in my opinion.
Well, aside from that fact, I really don't think it's a budget version of Regirock. I think it does a lot of things different than Regirock. It has a way higher attack stat, which to me is very appealing, as well as having 85, 130 defense, and then also 80 special defense. I think it's pretty versatile defensively as well. You can go Assault Vest even if you want to, and with Sturdy that allows you to run a lot of different items other than leftovers. And I can even run Sand Force if I run into a sand team and abuse that as well. So I just think it's overall for Tier 5, it's one of the standouts for me.
I like the Custap Berry Leap too. I think
Me
it's
too.
pretty strong.
I like that too, with the option to set up rocks and explode or do something similar to that. We've got Old Man Sub here in the Pittsburgh Piratas Tup grabbing Licky.
Oh yeah, bringing this guy in, it really fills a hole that my team has. Heal Beller, Wish Passer, it's got that huge 110 HP stat. It's got respectively 95 in each of the defenses. So, I mean, this thing's really underrated in the format. I've seen it get used quite a bit in other leagues, and I'm interested to try it out. I mean, it gets Belly Drum Explosion. Do I need to say anything else?
Bold strategy. We'll see how it pays off for you, Cotton. Rounding off the round 10 picks here, Battler X is on our wheel, I believe, and I believe that pick's gonna come through, and he is gonna not evolve his Golbat. He's gonna keep it as a Golbat. Eviolite Golbat, one of the few hazard removers left in the format after, you know, here we are, round 10, and it's a pretty good defogger to help out Mega Pinsir. I don't know how reliable it's gonna be overall, but I actually like Golbat. I used it a lot back in the Gen 4 days.
I mean, it gives him a much needed way to remove hazards, especially considering he has a Mega Pinsir. So I'm happy he got a good defogger. I think Golbat is a reliable defogger, so that's good for him. Looking at how it fits his entire team, it does grant him, well, he already, like, there's a lot of typings that he's sharing, so I'm not entirely sure how solid it is for his particular roster, but it's definitely something that he needed, so I'm glad he got that.
All right, so here we are in the summary slide for round 10. We are entering our last round now. You're going to see that there's, I believe, 8 teams that have already drafted their picks because of the franchising. So they basically drafted their franchise pick, which will count as their 11th round. So you'll see a lot of Pokemon like Entei, Victini on my team, things like that are going to show up. So don't be alarmed, guys. But Miguel, anything that really, what do you think was the best pick this round, and what do you think was the worst pick this round in terms of not making a lot of sense in your mind?
I really like Mega Alakazam, not because, like I said, I'm not always going to aim for like the highest tier pick, even though in this case, Mega Alakazam is tier 1. It's just that Mega Alakazam, I really like Lars' reasoning. I like how it really fits his team. He has a lot of bulk, a lot of power, but he lacks a little bit of speed, and Mega Alakazam gives him all of that and more. And that's what I really like about it, because it really takes a little bit of pressure off his other mons, and that's, in reality, you only need one really fast Pokemon to do the late game sweeping, you know what I mean? So I feel like it was a very smart pickup by him, and it definitely is what shined for me this time around. But some very cool picks. I love Weezing. I love Dragonite as well. Very strong. I actually really like Gigalith, honestly. I think it has a lot of potential. And yeah, and I'm happy Steve got Golbat too. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that Golbat pick was very crucial for Steve to ensure that he was able to, you know, get some entry hazard removal to kind of help out his Sandslash, which most likely isn't going to be the most reliable thing. A little surprised to see that Simisage. I know George was looking to grab one of the monkeys, so kind of surprising to see Simisage. We'll see if it can actually put in the work. I know it does have a Gluttony ability, which allows it to activate its berry earlier. That might be something that comes into play. I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting. So I want to know if the chat is excited right now, guys, because we are rocking the final round of the GBA Season 6 draft. Guys, if you want to check out the draft being updated live, !draft in the chat. You can check out the fan document. Make sure you favorite that or bookmark that document on your web browser. Hopefully you're not using Internet Explorer, using Google Chrome. You can put that on your bookmarks, because that is going to be the fan document we use the entire season. That's going to show you all the matches, so you don't have to ask your favorite coach, you know, who you play next week. You can check the document. You don't have to check the rosters, because they're right there. Everything is right there. In-depth stat breakdowns and everything in its entirety is right in that document, guys. So !draft, there is a cooldown, so you might have to wait for Nightbot to post it, but definitely check that out. And last but not least, !GBA shirt in the chat to check out our partner store with Onaj. We have shirts for every single team, so make sure you support your favorite team, and maybe your second favorite team, and maybe your third favorite team if you're really feeling generous. But I think it's time for us to jump into round 11. I believe it's going to be a little bit anticlimactic here, as we see Heatran for the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. Of course, Battler X franchising Heatran, so he did not draft this now. This was actually his franchise pick. Overall, looking at Battler X's team, I really like the synergy between Heatran and Slowbro. I really like that defense with Florges there to pass wishes to really help out something like Heatran to stay around a little bit longer. But I think the thing that's really lacking, Miguel, is the fact that his entry hazard removal is not quite where it needs to be, I think, for Mega Pinsir to really shine.
I couldn't have said it any better, honestly. Like, it's that what I don't like about his options of hazard removal. First of all, I don't think Sandslash is as reliable, and I think Sandslash would really shine in a team that can support it with Sand. And Golbat shares a lot of weaknesses with Mega Pinsir, and that's a little bit of an issue, I feel, because it's going to be his main way of getting rid of rocks, and you can tailor your team to be able to handle both Golbat and Mega Pinsir, so I'm not, I feel like that's going to be the biggest weakness, but I've heard great things about Battler X. I've heard he's exceptional, so
we'll see.
So
we'll see. People compare him to a supercomputer. So Old Man Tup, of course, franchising Excadrill from last season, pairing very nicely, grabbing Hippowdon in the first round to kind of function with that Sand Rush Excadrill. Absolute monster sweeper. I love the Mega Pidgeot and the fact that it gets that, 100% accurate Hurricane, 30% chance for confusion. I think Heracross is a sleeper pick, and I love the bulk with Tangrowth. What do you think about Old Man Tup here?
Well, I really like Tup's team. I think he's got not one but two very reliable hazard removal rapid spinners. Basically, he's got a
Pidgeot gets defog too. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon. Oh, okay. I think we can talk about that later. We got a pick here.
This is actually a pick for this round. Gubbs picking up his final pick to round out his GBA Season 16, which is, of course, going to be a Selgor. Very fast Pokemon in Tier 4. If Gubbs is here, you can tell us about the Selgor.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Excelgor, and the thing that pops out, I think, most is, lead with utility. You got spikes, final gambit, stuff like that. That's pretty bread and butter for Excelgor. But the thing that really stuck out to me when I was looking at this pick was Endure plus Unburden with stuff like Salic Berry or even Lychee Berry if I want to go physical. That way I can run Modest, I can Endure, get the Salic Berry to go off, and then I'm faster than anything in the game at that point, other than priority, of course. And I think that carries a lot of late game sweeping potential with a mon that has just enough coverage to get it done.
100 special attack too, which is very respectable, really.
Yeah, and it's actually a really good Pokemon. It does have some utility obviously as a hazard.
I love Final Gambit personally too.
Yes, I do as a lead. Here we got Gym Leader Geo, of course, franchising Entei, his mascot pick from last season. His team is insane with the bulk of Cresselia and Zapdos paired with offensive presence like Manaphy and Entei. This team looks like it's going to be a playoff team just on paper right off the bat here.
It's definitely a favor. See how he implements this, obviously,
Yeah, so the Boston Red Sox coming through. I know Nick is here. He wants to talk about his pick, Rhydon. I'm actually a big fan of this pick, Nick. So tell us about Rhydon real quick.
Well, it's fat, so that's something kind of new for my team. It kind of complements my other two walls kind of well. It's a backup rocker, so Skarmory doesn't have to carry the burden every week. And then if I really want to, I can go Double Dance as well, and Rhydon becomes a really scary threat because his stats are...
He's got a very potent squad, but we gotta see how he implements this, obviously,
Yeah, so the Boston Red Sox coming through. I know Nick is here. He wants to talk about his pick, Rhydon. I'm actually a big fan of this pick, Nick. So tell us about Rhydon real quick.
Well, it's fat, so that's something kind of new for my team. It kind of complements my other two walls kind of well. It's a backup rocker, so Skarmory doesn't have to carry the burden every week. And then if I really want to, I can go Double Dance as well, and Rhydon becomes a really scary threat because his stats they're kind of like, they go under the radar because Rhyperior is a thing, and you don't kind of expect like a not fully evolved mon like Rhydon. But Rhydon was like OU for the first two generations for a reason. Like, this thing's really strong.
Yeah, very good pick here. We actually see the Tier 1, I think it was Tier 1 or Tier 2, Bisharp coming through. Actually, it was Tier 2. An undrafted Pokemon previously. This season, we're going to see if Bisharp actually puts in the work. Top OU threat in standard format, but typically doesn't do too well in the GBA format. What do you think, Miguel? You think this thing is going to put in the work this season? I personally do think it's going to be very good.
I think Bisharp has been underrated for a while now in League format. People are always looking at the quad weakness of fighting, and they're very scared to draft it because of that. Because it's not the fastest, but people forget how threatening this thing is after a Swords Dance. Even if you see the Sucker Punch coming, it's really, it just deals so much damage. If you're bringing like a very bulky team, this is the Pokemon to tear it down with. So I think Bisharp is definitely gonna put in the work, and it worked out really well for me, feeling.
There it is, Smogon.
There it is. All right, so the entire chat. Like a good portion of the chat was like really curious about my Tier 1 pick, and a lot of people got it right. It's Talonflame. This is not, like I said, improvised. I had this plan from the very beginning. Again, but I was at a point in which I thought nobody could threaten my Tier 1 pick until I saw Sam draft Mega Banette there. I freaked out for a second. Because this Pokemon was really important for my team to make sense, basically. And I want Talonflame because it pairs its high offensive traits with the likes of Mega Blastoise and good mons like Gothitelle, which can trap its counters. And paired with Weavile, I wanted to go a little bit more offensive this season. And I feel like Weavile and Talonflame together with good rapid spin support and good bulky pivots as well, it's going to grant me with a lot of power. And we'll see how it works out. I'm very excited to use this team, man. But Talonflame was definitely like a very important component. I'm very happy it got to me. Sam, you scared me.
You got lucky on that one. Obviously, Lars franchising Landorus Incarnate from his team last season, a playoff team, of course. Landorus Incarnate being one of the best Pokemon in the format. Obviously, having that ice weakness, but its stats and its ability, sheer force, and its coverage just really set it apart from a lot of other Pokemon. That 101 base speed tier. I saw this thing rock polish in my face and sweep my team once and almost do it twice. This thing is a monster, and there's no doubt. It was no surprise to see Lars grab Landorus Incarnate.
I'm not
first draft.
surprised.
I really
I'm not
like that
surprised.
Pokemon.
After a rock polish,
it's amazing. You just can't beat it. Fizz coming through here with a very interesting pick. I like this pick, actually, as a bulky Psychic type, as a potential Calm Mind user with reliable recovery. I believe again, Moonlight. You got a Musharna here in Tier 5, Miguel. What do you think about Musharna?
I don't know much about Musharna, because to me, it just seems like a little bit similar to the likes of Uxie and such. So, except without rocks. But I have seen some lives. I have seen some videos, some footage with this thing in the past. Like, not too often, but it's really bulky. It seems to be really, really, really bulky and really hard to take down. So, I'm curious to see like what the Atlanta Haluchas like have planned for this mon. Honestly,
yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how Musharna works out here. Obviously, a franchise pick here for George Sceptile MC, grabbing Nidoqueen from his team last season. So this was obviously his franchise here.
Yeah.
I love Nidoqueen. I love the team he drafted. I think the Mega Beedrill and the Simi Sage are a little bit weird. There's some funky picks on here, but I think you can't really count out any team that has Latios, Nidoqueen, Milotic, and Infernape as kind of a starting point. There's some really good standout Pokemon on this team. I don't know if I'm fully sold on some of the other picks, though. I don't know how much I like the Mega Beedrill, especially when there's things like Mega Aggron, who went undrafted. What do you think about this team?
The thing about George is that he always drafts a bit awkwardly, but then when he plays, it's like when with people like freaking out over Geo's draft and saying he's gonna win it all and stuff, and then people all really put down George's draft last season, and look at it,
and he went to the championship, with a team that he said himself he didn't even really like that much.
People, it's more important to draft Pokemon that you're comfortable with rather than just straight up mons that look very good on paper. And,
I agree.
If you're gonna get on a bandwagon, then hey, don't cry when it crashes. Just saying.
Get on the New York Metapods bandwagon. Of course, I was the champion last season, and I'm very happy about this team. I've seen a couple people make comments about me kind of copying your team, but I actually don't feel that way at all. I mean, obviously, I grabbed Mega Altaria and Ferrothorn and Dragalge, but
you took some like cores that I personally feel comfortable with, but that. Like, you got a lot of stuff that, I would never use Chansey.
I personally am incredibly happy with this draft. There was only 2 instances that I didn't really get the Pokemon I wanted, Donphan and Wobbuffet. But aside from those 2 Pokemon, I feel like I was able to draft a team that I feel more comfortable with. I think the team that I have now is actually better than my championship team last season.
I think
really
it's
excited.
a team that's going to benefit. I think Galvantula is pretty key here.
Yeah,
because
having that sticky web
benefit a lot from sticky web. A huge portion of your mons are really gonna love that. So I'm excited to see you use that.
We got Cooper
We'll
here
see
grabbing
the franchise stage pick. Yeah.
Yeah, franchise pick. Sableye, of course, for Cooper, the Utah Jasmine. A very kind of unorthodox team here for Cooper. A lot of Pokemon that I personally probably wouldn't have grabbed, but again, like you said before, we really need to emphasize that on paper doesn't mean everything. I mean, I could tell you for 2 examples here of me personally. I was rated in the bottom of the league on the pre-draft power rankings 2 seasons in a row. I went to 2 championships.
You were.
So the pre-draft means really, it doesn't mean anything when you really get into the matches. Cooper has proven himself to be a tremendous battler, so I'm really excited to see him use Mega Gallade. I think that's going to be really cool. Another team I really like here is, of course, the Philadelphia Scissors, surprising everyone with the pseudo rain team, but not relying on rain. I love it with Tornadus, Blastoise, Kingdra, and
Politoed. That's where he shines. I think because I think this is very well executed. We only saw a pseudo rain team in season 4, but it wasn't properly drafted. And Gio will be the first one to admit this. I think he's got a long way with his drafting. Like, his drafting is really strong now. But I think this is the first time that I've seen in the GBA a pseudo rain team that actually looks Really
scary.
solid.
It looks scary.
Really scary.
When you
Really
pair
scary,
100% accurate Hurricane coming from Tornadoes, you throw in, I think Mega Deontay here is one of these Pokemon that might get lost in the sauce of the rain and the other stuff with Scolipede, but I think Mega Deontay is key to that team to being effective, and I think that Magic Bounce ability can make that team really, really piece together well, and I want to see that Frogadier put in the work. I love Sam's team here. Again, another one of those teams that might look a little unorthodox with him grabbing things like Crobat really early in the draft, franchising Crocodile, of course, but I really like this team, and I think Mega Banette is going to surprise some people, giving him enough points to grab that Dragonite and really kind of round out this team. There's some big threats in this team, Miguel.
This is probably, without counting my own, this is probably my favorite draft of all. I think it has tremendous potential, and like what I see with this roster is that while on paper it's not, a lot of the mons are not the most impressive, like together, I see so many different like team options. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Sam is gonna come up with some very fascinating stuff, I feel.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where the battler comes in too. Sam has been known to be a very, creative battler. Use some Pokemon that might not otherwise shine in someone else's hands, but Sam can make them work really well. Speaking of coaches that can make things just work, MV, one of my good friends, and actually, just to kind of give him a little shout out here, he helped me team build my playoff team for the Rampardos last season. So he is a phenomenal team builder and one of the newest additions to the GBA. This team is insane, Miguel. I don't want to get flinched.
It's insane. Am I in this guy's division? Because
I am. I have to play him twice. I don't want to get flinched.
Enjoy that, buddy. Enjoy that. Oh my god.
I don't even know what you do. Jirachi, Togekiss, both 60% chance to flinch on Ironhead Air Slash. What are you gonna do? Tom coming through with
you cried, Dan. You cried.
We got to throw out Tom here for the final pick of the GBA season draft, but don't go anywhere yet, guys, because we're gonna be recapping the rosters here momentarily. But he's gonna grab Luxray, a pick that actually was a free agent grab for the Borussia Donphan last season. It worked out quite well for him, having that Intimidate ability and just general bulk and a pretty decent electric type overall.
I love Luxray. I actually used it in OU several times. I think with a Choice Scarf is actually really good. And you can also take the route of just putting an Assault Vest on it or making it bulkier to be able to tank hits. But the only downside to this Pokemon is the speed. If it wasn't for that, this Pokemon would be used a lot more, I feel. And I still think it's very underrated by the entire community. I think this Pokemon has a lot of potential, and I really want Tom to use it. I really want Tom to showcase it off. This was my other option. I just chose Tipstrika because of the speed. I really wanted the speed, but I think Luxray, I love the Intimidate. I think a lot of people talk about the Guts ability. What?
What's up, Tom?
I'm sorry, good old Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft.
That's not irrelevant. You grab Luxray. That's kind of cool.
How do you feel about Luxray? I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite mons, actually.
So here we... Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
With Luxray, I think that it's good. It gives me a second Intimidator. Yeah, it's weak to ground. But it's second Intimidator, Volt Switch is always important, and it certainly allows me just to have another option outside of Arcanine. I just love having those good, diverse options, and I can be more pleased with this draft.
Awesome. All right, so here we are with the final picks for round 11, guys, and don't go anywhere just yet because we are going to be reviewing all the teams here momentarily. Before we jump into that, Miguel, real quick, obviously a lot of these were franchise picks, but out of the ones that weren't franchise, let's actually, I don't know if you have the document, but let's talk about some of the Pokemon that maybe were undrafted before we do anything else, because it seems like there's a lot of Pokemon that were undrafted. I think a lot of people expected. And again, you guys can all view this by typing !draft in the chat and viewing the live Google document that is the fan document, which of course you should save on your internet browser as a bookmark because we'll be using it all season to document the battles and everything.
I think people are going to go very nuts over the fact that neither Hydreigon nor Raikou were drafted, nor Thundurus Incarnate.
Or Thundurus Styrian. Tyranitar is another one. Serperior.
That's huge. And Serperior as well. So Serperior, I would have gotten Serperior if I didn't get Roserade, honestly. I think it's really good in this format. Diggersby, which performed phenomenally last season, did not get picked. Lucario did not get picked. Volcarona also did not get picked. Hodgecrow.
Blissey. I'm surprised at Blissey.
I'm really happy about that.
I know, but you know.
Tier 5 too much, or Tier 2 too much.
Oh yeah, Cooper. I'm surprised you didn't pick it. Oh, nice. I'm proud of you, man. I like it.
The price tag couldn't handle it.
All right, guys. Now you can see on the screen the full GBA Season 6 draft. I hope you guys did enjoy. We're going to keep going here, though. Real quickly, I think we should run through who you think the standout teams are now that we have the entire team on our page here. Who do you like? Let's make some bold predictions here, man. Who do you think has the on paper? Let's take the coach out of the equation here. Whose team do you like the most right now, Miguel, on paper, aside from your own?
All right, so
I'll give you a second to kind of scan over things here because I'm doing the same.
Yeah. I'm gonna be a little bit I'm gonna be a little bit stubborn here, and I'm gonna go back. I'm not including the player. I really think if I were to pick a team that wasn't mine, it would be Sam's. I think it has so much room for building, and it's personally my favorite. I'm also a huge fan of Tom's, and I'm also a huge fan of Fizz. And I like your team as well, too. Honestly, I like a lot of teams. This is really hard.
Yeah,
there's some
really cool teams
I'll
here.
go with Sam. He's my favorite. It's my favorite team.
All right, I really like the Scissors here. I think that Pseudo Rain team, Tornadus T is one of those Pokemon that I think is absolutely phenomenal. Pairing it with 100% accurate Hurricanes with the Politoed, giving Kingdra as an opportunity, but not having to rely on the rain. Do not forget about the opportunities with things like Mega Deontay, which could be a huge offensive threat. Scolipede, which I personally think, I don't know if it was worth a first-round pick, but I do think Scolipede is absolutely amazing. So I really like that team from Chimpact. I love Envy's team, aside from the fact that it's probably going to be a pain in the butt to face, of course. And I don't think you could sleep on Old Man Tup's team, too. I think Old Man Tup did a very good job this year drafting.
I think Tup drafts well pretty, like, every season. Like, he's good at drafting. I've always been a fan of his drafting. I think he does a good job at it.
All right, guys. I got to see in the chat right now. Let us know who your favorite draft is. Who are you going to be? Now that you've seen the teams, I know we still got to get to the matches here, which are actually starting next week on the weekend, or our first round of matches. So keep an eye on that Google document. But let us know in the chat, guys, who your favorite team is. Who are you going to be rooting for? Don't forget to check out !draft to get that document so you guys can bookmark that now. !GBA shirt in the chat will also get you our merch store, of course. So show your love for your favorite teams, guys. Get excited because GBA Season 6 is here. I'm hyped, Miguel. What about you, man?
I'm super hyped. I'm looking at these rosters right now. Like that's all I'm doing. Like I'm just looking at every single roster and I'm thinking, oh god.
Yeah, I'm doing this. You look at the team and you're like, how am I gonna beat this team? And you see that for every single team. How do I beat this team? Everyone just drafted so well, and I think that's a huge testament to the battle skill and the draft skill that we have in the GBA, which is the #1 counter team draft league format on YouTube. So get yourselves excited, guys, for GBA Season 6. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who is a part of this project, GlitchX City and No Copyright Sounds for providing the music. I want to thank Ezek for doing all the graphics for us and doing a phenomenal job. I think we made it through the entire stream without any errors, so that's a huge testament. Big shout outs to all the guys who created, all the coaches, of course, all of our analysts, guys. Make sure you are subscribed to the GBA YouTube channel for amazing content this season. We have plenty of series going on, from power rankings to Around the Rhyhorn to free agent picks to everything is going to be covered this season. We are stepping it up another notch for GBA Season 6, and we're going to continue to do our best to give you guys the best battle content on YouTube, guys. Big shout outs to all the coaches for being a part of this. Of course, thank you everyone for tuning in on the stream, tweeting out, and just being absolutely phenomenal. Miguel, thank you for being a wonderful co-host as always.
Thank you for having me, buddy. I had a blast. This was really fun. It was a bit nerve-wracking too because of all the potential snipes, but it was really it was a nice experience. It
was a good time. It was a good time. And again,
I'm hyped, man. I don't know.
I'm so excited, right? We're gonna be jumping into matches in just about a week, guys. We have our first matches next weekend. So get excited for that, guys. Again, one more time, show your love in the chat for your favorite coach, of course. And I encourage you guys to subscribe to every coach in the GBA, because whether it's your favorite coach or not, the battles are going to be insane this season. The competition is at an all-time high, and it's going to be amazing. If you're trying to learn how to get better at battling, you want to join a league of your own, following these coaches, following the GBA is the best way to do it. And I think we have an amazing all-star lineup of 16 teams this season that are going to make some pretty amazing battles happen. I'm personally excited, and I'm sure you guys are as well. Thank you guys again for watching the GBA Season 6 full draft stream. My name is Dan, I also go by A-Drive, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.
Get a word in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do not subscribe to Cooper. Don't forget. Don't do it. You said subscribe to everyone. You were wrong.
Except for Cooper. Bye, guys.
There you go.